And welcome YouTube. It is your boy Hirsch Bursch McGursh, aka Hellcat Hirsch, aka Hirsch Bursch McGursh, aka Gus Gus, aka Shoo Shoo, aka Cat in the Hat in the Night. And I'm back with my second YouTube channel here on Twitch as well. And it's my second video on my second YouTube channel. My first one is Hellcat Hirsch. If you haven't subscribed there and subscribe here, make sure you like, comment, and do those. But today we're here with a little bit more of a change in trajectory, I would say, in the content, because I want to do a little something that I usually like to think about and want to discuss, and hopefully can build to and cultivate a clan base that we can parlay about. Because today, if you can't tell by the mellow vibes and the freshly rolled doinky, I want to get deep. Yeah, how deep you say? How deep you say? This is my screen. So if you ever wonder, I'm looking at my screen right here. I got my laptop right here. The camera's right here. I got a couple lights right here. But this is just the corner of my room, if you can't see. In my crib, there's a door. And out that door is a room. And in that room is my streaming room. Yes. Yes. Once I take it serious enough to be here for a month streaming consistently, then I will be buying a high performance computer and put it in my new streaming room. Yeah, it's getting set up. It's gonna be piece by piece, but we're gonna piece it together. I want to see how serious that you guys take me, and the only way to take me serious is if I take myself serious. So let's get serious. But we're gonna have fun too, entertain each other, and as well try to pick each other's brains a little bit, because I don't know why, I don't know how, but I've always been a critical thinker. And what does that mean? That means that there's some shit out here that we don't know about, but we can think about. We can reflect on, and we can absorb and ponder on. And I do that a lot. I don't know who else does that, so that's why I'm online, because this is the best and the worst place to figure out who you are. So as we go into this next step today, shout out to this background aesthetic right here. This is going to be Deanna. I hope I'm saying her name right. Deanna Lopez. Yeah, I was just swimming through the YouTube algorithm and I found her. You know what I'm saying? Some good vibes for the topic today. And the topic today is going to be... Let me get it right. I should have had it right, but I'm left. But I'm not going to leave y'all. We just going to take the time. Water towel and the tip of tea. Start out A. And today, I wanted to watch this. What is reality? What is it? What the fuck is reality? Why are we here? Why am I here? Why are you here? What is the point of all this? How? Is there even a point to ponder on about all of this? And I hope I'm saying this right. The conceptual understanding of everything being together, but individual. There's so many levels to this shit. It blows my mind. And I don't understand why people don't talk about it. Like, we should all be around fucking water wells in our fucking, what is this, togans or togans, what do they call them? You know what I'm talking about. And pondering and talking about life all the time. I know we go by our day, and everybody has their own lives and own purposes that we're kind of carving out of our lives, but it baffles me why the majority of human beings don't ponder and get together and take it as serious as school about what the fuck this experience is. So I was swimming through the algorithm. This came out 9 hours ago, and I was asking all week, like, it's something that's crawled up on my shoulder and was just like, make sure trying to turn me over to this fact of What is this? It's just like I can't help but ask, what the fuck is reality? Not life, reality. Cause life. I'm not trying to go too deep before starting the video though, but it's just like I gotta get this shit off though, because life is what you make it. Yes, but people, I guess to peel back even another layer of that is the whole essence of life, like reality, our reality, because there's so many other so-called dimensions. You take shrooms, you take any drugs, you go somewhere else in your mind. So you're thinking outer space and inner space. You're thinking physical and you thinking spiritual. But you also thinking like us in this moment on earth, living this life in this reality. So let's start the video. I'm not gonna try to talk too long. I'm still getting comfortable on YouTube. So if you don't like me talking, please just skip or tell me in the comments what I need to do better, what I need to do more, what I need to do less. But I'm just gonna be doing a mix of things on the streaming channel until we figure out what sticks. But hopefully it's this and that. But let's see what they got to say about what happens if you just keep cutting in half. Oh, fractal. They're talking about.
If you just keep cutting in half. Let's start with an apple and a really, really sharp knife. You take the knife in your hand and with a flourish you slice the apple into two neat pieces. The apple halves become quarters, then the quarters become eighths. In front of you are smaller and smaller pieces of pulpy white apple. But by your 14th cut, a regular rectangular pattern emerges, and you realize the smooth apple flesh is built out of an array of plant cells. You keep on cutting, chopping the cells into smaller and smaller pieces. Another 8 cuts reduces the cells into complex molecules of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And with a few more cuts, what was once the apple is now 10 to the power of 27 individual atoms. Is this it? Can you cut no more? But your knife is incredibly sharp, and you begin to chop into the atom. Peeling away the cloud of electrons, you reveal the seeming nothingness within. Almost nothingness, for at the center sits the tiny atomic nucleus, 100 trillion times smaller than the apple that you started with. But again you are undaunted, and again you continue chopping. The nucleus splits into protons and neutrons, the protons and neutrons into quarks and gluons, and you find yourself in the ethereal world of the subatomic.
All right. He just broke it down there, and now we're in the inferior world of subatomics. The inferior. They say inferior or inferior world of subatomics.
And gluons, and you find yourself.
That's past quarks, and we're talking about quantum physics when we're talking about quarks. So further than quarks, I don't even know what gluons are. We have the inferior world of subatomics.
In the ethereal world of the subatomic, a world governed by fuzzy probabilities, the apple now nothing but an ethereal wave upon a sea of fields.
Like, how do they know
Feels
this?
like you have finally reached the limit, the fundamental pieces of the universe. Though some think you can keep going. After more than 100 cuts, point-like quarks and electrons might be revealed to be waving strings, barely a trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a meter across, vibrating across extra dimensions. Down here.
What the fuck? He's already fucking my head up. Do y'all understand? I don't understand why this doesn't freak you out if you're watching this. To even be able to have this knowledge, is it true? Is it not? Is it hard to believe? Yes. But is it believable? Yes. It's kind of like whatever you want to make it, bro. But he's talking about these squiggly lines of probability, possibilities. And then breaking it down even further than that. We're past quarks. We're on the duality of subatomics.
a trillionth of a meter across, vibrating across extra dimensions.
Other dimensions.
Down here, maybe even space and time are chunky, fundamental blocks that can be cut no more. Or maybe any semblance of reality will melt away as we find that our universe...
Whoa, why do you say it like that?
Or maybe any semblance of reality will melt away as we find that...
Yo! Am I tripping? Am I really tripping? Y'all let me know down in the comments, man. His voice just changed and sound creepy as hell. When he said, when it won't melt away. He said, melt away. Like he knows something that we don't.
No more. Or maybe any semblance of reality will melt away as we find that our universe is truly a simulated cosmos, churning away on some super-dimensional computer. Or that our three-dimensional existence...
That's what the fuck I'm talking... Like, this doesn't... I can't even watch this shit without trying to get an answer from somebody. Like understanding the meat and potatoes, the thick of it, the succulent center of what reality really is. It will blow our mind no matter what the answer is. No matter what the fuck it is. If it's blobs of just partial possibilities of existence forming the probabilities, or is it a simulation and we're living in somebody's fucking computer? Making computers, on the computer. A video game inside of a video game. Where people go crazy thinking about this shit because can you blame them? Can you fucking blame anybody for going insane if they really sit there and think about truly their existence and why they're here? Especially if they don't have any crutch or something gleeful in order to enjoy this existence. And strictly just focus and churn all their energy and time into this and then get no answers. There's no possible way to get any fucking answers. But we're going to find out because he still has fucking 2 hours and 30 minutes to explain this. And I'm still like, I don't even want to look at the screen now. But let's go.
Distance is nothing but an illusion, and everything we know and love is shown to be a hologram. Or even more strangely, maybe it's just raw mathematics, all the way down. But which is true? And how can we be sure?
Never.
To understand reality, the true nature of reality, and how humans over thousands of years have struggled to unravel it, we are going to have to dissect the cosmos and ask some very difficult questions.
Let's go. Let's go.
Is the apple
am I scared to fuck
real?
To sleep or scared
You
to
can hold
fuck
it, smell
stay
it,
awake?
taste it. You can see the greenness of its skin in the sunlight. Surely the apple is real. But what does
Or
it
is
mean to be real?
For real.
Just what is reality?
How many views does this guy have? 53,000 views in 10 hours. This should be like a Joe Rogan interview.
Isaac Newton used to bookmark the pages in his books in a very specific way. He would turn the corner of the page down onto the phrase or even the word he wanted to remember. Of course, it was easy for him to concentrate, as he had no mobile phone determined to distract him or suck him into endless doom scrolling. And so our sponsor today is the perfect learning tool, the app for lessons that take only a few minutes before you probably have beautifully experienced ecology. You've been enjoying and I've been looking through cognitive free.
They must
Universe
get paid for this.
To our truly ancient ancestors, reality must have been obvious. From the plains of Africa to those wandering the snowy wastes of northern Europe, reality was what you sensed with your eyes and ears, touch and tongue. Reality was simply out there. The snap of a twig in a forest might tell them that their next meal is at hand, or warn them that they might be on the menu for a beast with bigger teeth and sharper claws. Sensing reality was a matter of life or death. Perhaps therefore, in their day-to-day struggles, these truly distant ancestors had little time to wander, little time to think deeply about the world that surrounded them. But as the human mind developed and thoughts expanded, the nature of reality surely changed as well. We know humans began to bury their dead almost 100,000 years ago. Quite what they were thinking as they bid farewell to their loved ones, we'll never know. But perhaps they were thinking of a world beyond our reality, an afterlife. These ceremonies provide insight into human thought, and that there was more to reality than meets the eye, or ear, or nose. Ideas around spirits and gods and invisible yet powerful influences began to emerge, along with questions of meaning and purpose. And of course, the gods also gave us the apple, providing delicious fruit for us to eat. There was no need to question the reality of the apple beyond this. The answer was simply beyond the ponderings of the human mind, only found in the thoughts of the gods. But others began to wonder more deeply.
All right. In order to put that in a little perspective for me, 100,000 years ago, they started burying their dead. So, what about before that? Like, what gets to that point? What is that influence? That means that there is something out there influencing, because how can something so unnatural happen naturally? Like, why would somebody... It's kind of hard to even think that somebody would just know that or think that just out of the blue somewhere. But let's see.
Plato was one of the greatest philosophers of the ancient world. Living in Athens in the 4th century BC, his real name was Aristocles, with Plato being just a nickname that meant broad and apparently referred to his stocky build. The material world bothered Plato. Where do objects get their material properties? Be it the greenness of the apple skin or the fact that dogs have 4 legs. Our world, Plato contended, was not the real
philosophy.
World. And to understand this, we will have to explore his famous allegory of the cave. In this cave, a group of prisoners are kept chained, staring at a wall. The prisoners have always been there.
Yo, that's one thing, bruh. That's one thing I be seeing in like movies and shit like that, and even in Africa or just like overseas or something like that. I don't know what it is about people's feet, but they be in the worst conditions and still be having all their toenails and shit like that clear and together, and got the tips on there. No black toes. I don't see not nobody over there like slaves or third world countries, and they got black toes like black men over here, bro. You go to the hood and you see a nigga with his feet out, his toes out, bro. Them shits look horrible. Just it looked like he was drinking and his toes got black like his liver would. Nigga, it's like I don't understand. I'm saying that because I got a black toe. I got one black toe. Okay, I'm going through the process right now. I'm taking it to the salon. They using a little sand duster. You know what I'm saying? That's what's helping getting the layers down. Putting a little medicated A&D ointment on there every day in order for it to go away, and it's finally going away. But it's just like, damn, after 5 years.
Staring at a wall. The prisoners have always been there, chained in the cave, and have never been outside and experienced the real world.
I heard about this analogy. Let me see if I can get this right before you say it, though, because I'm invested. All right, so if you are a prisoner in the cave, right, and all you know is the cave, right, and nothing but the cave, you don't even know what the fuck light is, grass is, air, or sky, none of this, then that is your reality. There's no other reality. This is all you know. So who's to say that that's not real? Because this is your reality. And if somebody says, yo, there's light, you're like, yo, what the fuck is light? Nah, I don't believe that. This is all I know is darkness. All we know is darkness. You're lying. You're fibbing. It could be a possibility, but no, this is my reality. But whole time, just above the cave is a whole atmosphere type shit. So let me see.
All the prisoners can see is the wall in the cave in front of them. But on the wall, they see shadows. These are formed by sunlight streaming into the cave entrance as people go about their daily business at the mouth of the cave. What are they to make of this external reality, one that they can barely see? How are they to understand the
said it
real
way better than me.
world?
He said it way better than me.
But we can go further. What if they are not really seeing shadows of reality from beyond the mouth of the cave? What if, instead, some mischievous people have blocked off the cave entrance and are illuminating the prisoner's wall with a bright fire? With this light,
cooking.
these people can now play mind games with the prisoners, using shadow puppets to play out stories on the wall. No longer are the prisoners simply seeing people wander by the cave entrance.
Oh my
Now
god,
they can see
bruh.
stories of monsters and battles.
Oh my god. Yo, he went completely. He took an angle. It was like you get an intersection and it's like straight is at an angle still. Like, do I take a left? Do I put the right bumper on? No, it's still straight, nigga. But if I'm right, it's not. Fuck what I just said. What if, he's basically saying, what if somebody's controlling our reality because they understand that we know everything, but somebody's controlling what we see in our reality, or what our impression of what our reality is. I don't know. Let's see.
Castles.
This is critical thinking, people. You know, you can watch the video or you can try, and then you can learn, and then you can, take the L into a lesson.
And kings. What are the prisoners to make of this new reality? Is it any less real than before? To them, this image on the wall is their reality, there is nothing else. And so, these exciting new tales are as real as the previous shadow people milling about. To them, the monsters and battles are truly real. Plato then asks us to consider that we are like the prisoners, and the reality we experience every moment of the day is a projection of...
Yeah, because have you guys ever seen an eclipse's shadow? That's what they were showing right here. Boom. When it flutters a bunch of it's a bunch of the moon shadow. It's like it's like all the shadows through the canals of the moon once the solar eclipse is fully eclipsed, or like at a certain, I don't know, percentage, and then it does this, and it's like all on the ground, like everywhere. It's just weird. It's not a normal shadow. Like you would think that it would just be like a bunch of lines or something like that, where
And the reality we experience every moment of the day is a projection of a place where true reality plays out, with our imperfect world being a shimmering image of perfection. World being a shimmering image of perfection.
oh damn, I don't even know y'all heard that. Let me see. Oh good, y'all didn't hear me fuck up then. Damn, I gotta get a new mic. If I bump my lip on this mic, it's over. I could be in a deep talk and then just like, so don't mind me, but hopefully I won't for too long. But what I was saying, that this could be a perfect Instagram caption. Just think about it, yo. Hey girl, with your imperfect world being a shimmering image of your perfection, I think you need a little bit of my affection. I don't know. Damn, fucked up again. Shit, cut it out, Herschel. Cut it. Let's try this again. Damn girl, with your imperfect world being a shimmering image of your perfection, I just think you need a little bit of my affection. Ooh. I might get better. I don't know. Am I there? Imperfect?
Perfection. To Plato, our experiences are just shadows of a true reality.
What does that even mean?
Considering what we know now, this was oddly prescient. But for the story of
Somebody
reality,
smoking a
this
better
was just
blunt
the
than me
beginning.
somewhere in
To
a
reveal the
better
secrets
reality.
of the universe, to
Even though this
unveil
shit
the
fire.
ultimate truth of the nature of the cosmos, the answers did not lie in the hands of the gods or ancient philosophy.
Because you gotta think about this, it's not just us. It's like you're talking about space, you're talking about the planets, you're talking about the universe, you're talking about everything that compiled this table, all the elements in order for it to be solid. Like this is wood that grew from atoms and neutrons and protons, just like everything else. And was it quartzes and what is it called, the joludes or whatever, joludes, whatever they call them. Just how is this complexity even? So if this is a shadow of something from something else, then how is this? This isn't. I can still have a beautiful day here where I'm just amazed, and look at this nebula, this forming of stars in our universe. There's tangible, researchable. This is a photograph of it, so it's out there, and something so majestic can be just a shadow of something even better. It's just like, wow.
Instead, we would have to delve deep into the fundamental makeup of matter, time, and space. We would have to turn to the insights into reality provided by scientific exploration. And when we did, things quickly got very strange indeed.
Hold on. I gotta change something.
Philosophy will clip an angel's wings, conquer all mysteries by rule and line, unweave a rainbow. In the first few months of 1821,
Unweave
the
a
poet
rainbow.
John Keats died in Rome. He
Unweave
was
a
young,
rainbow.
only 25, but his body was racked by the scourge of tuberculosis. In his short time, he was prodigious, writing on the natural beauty of the world around us, and like many before and after, he was only truly recognized after his death. Keats was born almost 70 years after the death of Isaac Newton. It was the time of the Industrial Revolution, a revolution driven by Newton's insights into the natural world. The scientific revolution of Newton and his contemporaries had sought to peel back reality and reveal it as nothing more than a manifestation of physical law in action. And finally, it had been Newton who had realized that the white light of the sun contained all the colors of the rainbow, and that water droplets in the sky spread sunlight in a glorious display from red to violet. The seemingly mystical appearance of one of nature's true wonders had, Keats complained, been destroyed by Newton, reducing it to little more than a prism. In Keats' words, Newton had tried to unweave the rainbow.
All right, let me get that back.
Lit as Newton
So
by
I was
Newton's
supposed to go on my
insights into the
Instagram,
natural
follow it, Hershey
world.
Pie Fly.
The scientific revolution of
Hershey Pie
Newton
Fly.
and his contemporaries had sought to peel back reality and reveal it as nothing more than a manifestation of physical law in action. And finally, it had been Newton who had realized that the white light of the sun contained all the colors of the rainbow, and that water droplets in the sky spread sunlight in a glorious display from red to violet. The seemingly mystical appearance of one of nature's true wonders had, Keats complained, been destroyed by Newton, reducing it to little more than a prism. In Keats' words, Newton had tried to unweave
the
the
rainbow.
rainbow.
Damn, that'd be like a good Republican. Let me stop.
Newton's triumph might have been Keats' lament, but as Newton began to unweave the nature of light, he kick-started a long tradition of science, peeling away the very nature of reality to expose its bones. Let's think again about our apple. Of course, one of the defining characteristics of a ripe apple is its colourful skin. But just where does this colour reside? Apples are made of a complicated mix of water, sugars, and more complex structures. So why do we see the apple appear green? To answer this question, we must delve deeper into the meaning of colour. And the story begins with the last man who knew everything. Thomas Young was born in the tiny Somerset town of Milverton in 1773. Precocious from the very start, he learned French,
Precocious.
Greek, Italian, Latin, Aramaic, Persian, and more, and was instrumental in deciphering Egyptian hieroglyphics soon after the discovery of the Rosetta Stone.
I'm sorry, that's going to bother me. Precocious. Precocious.
Here's how to remove copyright claims on YouTube. If you've got a YouTube copyright claim...
Precocious. It means of a child having developed a certain ability or proclivities at an early age than usual. Precocious. Proclivity. Proclivity, I did say it the right time. A tendency to choose or do something regularly, or an inclination or a disposition towards a particular thing. Precocious. Proclivity. I gotta do it. It's something in my blood. I need to know it and I need to use it because I'm a thug. Now back to it. Precocious. Precocious.
French, Greek, Italian, Latin. 3. Precocious from the very start, he learned French, Greek, Italian, Latin, Aramaic, Persian, and more, and was instrumental in deciphering Egyptian hieroglyphics soon after the discovery of the Rosetta Stone.
The Egyptian hieroglyphs for the Rosetta Stones. He was able to figure out what that meant. He was able to figure out, imagine you are precocious, okay? You're a precocious young man, all right? Know everything at a young age because it's just natural to you because you do it every day anyway. And then somebody hands you this. Somebody hands you this fucking tab from 44,000 years ago and says, can you read this, bro? Can you like try to? Can you like take it home and like just decipher what this says for all humanity? Cause I mean, like I don't know if you can even see some of this shit, but I mean, hey, have it a try. But this man made the Rosetta Stone, or discovered the Rosetta Stone. I probably
Some
got
of
mad for
you,
nothing.
Young's name might already be familiar, as it was Thomas Young who undertook the first of what's known as the double-slit experiments.
Quantum
We will
physics.
return to Young's double-slit experiment later in our story.
Physics.
Artists knew that mixing coloured paints produced new colours, and 3 colours, red, green and blue, seemed to be particularly important. Young proposed that the eye contains 3 kinds of fibres we now call cone cells. One kind is sensitive to red, another to green, and another...
Oh, let me turn this background music off. It's kind of throwing me off a little bit. She's jamming though. Let's go ahead and pause that real quick. It's like my fingers working out right now. Oh, fuck, so I'm clicking the wrong shit.
to blue. The amount that each kind of cell is stimulated is passed along the optic nerve into the brain, where it is mixed like paint in the mind to give us the sensation of color. Things...
I can't help it. I'm sorry. All this shit is blowing my mind because it's just, okay, we found this out. Let's move along. That's how it should be. That's how it is. Lucky enough, we have people that think like this, because majority of the world does not care or want to care to know about none of this shit. But it blows my mind every time I hear this shit. He's saying that we see 3 prisms of color that it seems like they already found out naturally are the pivotal points for all colors. And our brain treats these 3 colors that happen naturally in nature and goes in our brain as they would in reality. And if you were in art class mixing paint, have the same reaction as you're doing it, as you're seeing it. That's why I'm saying, like, it's not just a simple statement. It's like everything would be white around us in just a straight flat color if that didn't happen, or if it was something else, or if it was just tweaked a different way.
Like paint in the mind to give us the sensation of color. Things, however, get weird when we look at the eyes of other animals. Our closest relatives, apes and monkeys of the old world, are similar to us, sensitive to 3 color bands. But most mammals only have 2, equivalent to our blue and green. This must reduce their color palette. Would they see a banana as being yellow? Bees have 3 color receptors, one sensitive to blue, another to green, and yet another to ultraviolet. Reptiles, fish, and birds can have 4 or more color receptors. Indeed, the small but violent mantis shrimp has a total of 12 receptors spread across the rainbow. These animals must see the world in an array of colors that we can't even begin.
What the fuck are you talking about? Yo, bro. Oh. The complexity of life. What is this man talking about? Do you see right now all these colors? I got colors on me, colors in the background. He got a array of colors right here. I'm looking at the thing right here that has colors. Everything has colors. And he just told me at least 6 or 5 different other species with a spectrum. Let me calm down. A spectrum of different colors that they can see. And he just told me that this fucking praying mantis in the water can probably see 12 colors in the spectrum line in an array that we can not even fathom. And this was what else did he say? What is this? Reptiles. This is the ape. He's kind of similar, but he's not. We got 1? Oh, that's bees. It's like, yo. Simple shit like that just gives me fucking fever and nightmares. Like it's just like I think about like shit like this in my dreams.
These animals must see the world in an array of colors that we can't even begin to imagine. So what are we to make from this confusing array of animal visions? For humans, the yellow of the rainbow matches the stimulated signal from the skin of a banana, but other creatures probably wouldn't agree. To them, maybe a strawberry or broccoli or human skin is the same color as a banana. This tells us something deep about the...
What the I'm sorry skipping, but what the fuck? He just said that red and bananas and strawberries and fucking wood look like all 3 different colors to us, but to a fucking reptilian, it could all just be yellow? Now, do you understand that? That's like the question is, if we're here in this earth experiencing and it's observable because there's creatures to observe it, is it really here if we weren't here? If there was no such thing as a conscience or a conscience species or intelligence at all, would this be here? Because in this same reality that we can, decipher and be able to, see these things, and you have one insect that can see way more colors than we can even. Oh, my bad. I got it all on my lips. I'm trying to do a dramatic effect and shit. My bad. We could do one insect with a spectrum of colors that we can't even fathom, and then you have one species on the same earth living the same experience, having some of the same similarities, but something yet so different, being vision like this, where everything will have a filter of yellow over it.
Skin is the same color as a banana. This tells us something deep about the nature of reality.
This pisses me off, man.
It's nothing but a shadow of
really
reality
does.
Created by our brains.
I feel so.
It is subjective, not objective. We live in a visual simulation of
That's
our
what
own
it is.
making, built from stimulations being
Not in a
fed
bad way
into
though. It's
our
just like in
brains.
a more like a realization
Newton
way. Like
told
this
us about
is
raindrops and
this
sunlight.
Is it. You only
but
can
the colors of the
do
rainbow
so much unless
only
we
exist in our minds.
do the most.
The sounds that we hear are similarly
Cyborgs.
illusions, an interpretation in our minds of vibrating eardrums due to waves of pressure in the air. We live in a virtual reality of our own making.
And he said that because it's really what you make it. Like, no two people are living the same life. Like, you get it? Like even if I had a twin, we wouldn't be in the same. It's so 7 billion people in this world too. So to think that everybody in this world is similar but different. How you can explain something to somebody, but it's like, are we breathing the same? Are you tasting the same air I'm tasting the same way? We could think about the same things, but there's no way they're thought about the same way. It's like that type of shit. It's just like, I use this analogy all the time. You go to a 7-Eleven and you're reaching to the door, and the same person at the same time is reaching for the door. You're holding the door open for that person. Like, you guys live two separate lives. Like, and that's why I'm saying you got to marinate in this for a second. Hold up, 1 second. Light the blunt. Light the blunt. Light the thoinky, so because we thinking, okay? Marinate on this. You're at this exact moment, at the exact same time, and I'm 34. I'm talking about birthdays. I'm talking about going to school. I'm talking about going to sleep, waking up, growing up, graduating, working, being late one day, being early one day, getting praise, going through whatever you went through in the bad and the good, and taking that walk and taking that trip. Like, all the shit you did before you got to this moment. And I'm 34. And this 60-year-old man or woman comes to the door. They live their whole life. I'm talking about their whole life. And both of you guys, at whatever distance and time, made the decision at the same or necessary time to be there at the same exact time. Like, that I mean, blows my mind all the time. Ever since I was a little kid, I would just be thinking about shit like that to this day. But I mean, it's reality. It's that deep where niggas is living their whole lives right now, and that nigga could be the nigga that kill you. You know what I'm saying? Like, this little killer grew up. He was a boy before, a little girl before. Now he grew up chopping bodies. But there was something that happened before all that. Now y'all two cross paths and you're dead. You're dead. You're done, son. Because of a simple decision that your ass could have made if you made it to your son's game that day. And get that deep. If you went to your son's game that day, you still would have been alive. Type shit. So, hey, he's talking about virtual reality of your own making, though. And that's what I'm saying. It's truly like a telltale story. Like one of those games you play where you have to choose left or right, and it's a butterfly effect to everything and everywhere. There's like a constant algorithm going on of decisions, and everything affects everything. No matter if you would have chose something, if somebody else chose something, it could affect you. You know what I'm saying? That train conductor fucked your ass up. Or you got fucked on the train because of what? Virtual reality. I don't know. Let's just go. A little ramble.
So if what we perceive is not truly reality, then what is? Well, space and time can at least be trusted. The apple is here and now. That is one certainty. Or is it?
Or somebody doesn't take it.
For in the revolution that was to follow Newton and Young, no part of reality
rendering.
Was safe.
You talking about rendering? We only on part 2, baby. Let's get it going. Get your popcorn going. I might take an edible. We getting deeper. No shrooms. I'm not about to jump inside the computer screen.
Measured by just how much?
I'm about to tell you about my last.
Quasars from 12 billion years ago. Black holes weighing billions of times the mass of the sun. Swirling in the intense gravity of these black holes, matter orbits at close to the speed of light. This matter is heated to billions of degrees and glows intensely, visible across the universe. But in the turbulent maelstrom, before it vanishes into the hole, Matter crashes and grinds, and the intense light brightens and fades like a cosmic firework display. Hidden in this flickering, astronomers found a subtle pattern, a special regularity, and they realized that they could use this quasar tick to measure the passage of time when the universe was young. These astronomers compared the tick of a clock today to the ticks of these quasars, finding that the farther away
It's
the
on the outside
quasar,
of that
the slower
observable
and
universe.
slower these quasar ticks became. And when the universe was 1/10 of its present age relative to today,
All right, so what are we looking at? We're looking at a quasar that got brighter, obviously, because it looks red right there, and then it's bright as hell to the left one. So they were able to measure that brightness, that reaction, that tick, because it was going in and out, I guess. Let me get it back. Hold on 1 second. My bad. Okay, we got it. This is a better spectrum right here. You see, it progressively got brighter. So I guess they used those ticks because they said that once a quasar absorbs a star, it gets observably brighter because the friction. Yeah, see, I know what I'm talking about, y'all. I got y'all, man. Those in the back, I got you.
and when the universe was 1/10 of its present age relative to today, time was ticking at 1/5 its current rate. This result was spectacular, but it was not unexpected. For this cosmic dilation was written into the mathematical laws that govern the universe, in a theory developed more than a century before. A theory that forever changed the reality.
All right, look at this too. Look at us. Look at you. You remember the hieroglyphics from earlier, the Rosetta Stone that Thomas Young found? See, I got you. I'm paying attention, and I'm here to mention that's Albert Einstein. If you didn't know, come on now, stay on your toes. But look at this. What's the difference? The hieroglyphics to this. It's crazy, right? Like, where does this even come from? I'll sit back and I think about, like, English and math. It's just time. There's been so much time that passed that this happened. Where we took the same idea, like hieroglyphics, and evolved. And I don't understand. The biggest thing about it is that we were able to create the letters and the numbers, but how does that work with actual reality and physics? Like, think about it. Look at this right here. These are actual scribbles that were cut off and repeated over and over with meaning. These aren't words, these are symbols for physical things, but it's like they make sense. But like, if you think about numbers and the number system, and how if you go to China, India, Africa, and or whatever other language, they have a number system as well, and it all works together in order for things to work. And it's like, has it been that long? Like, if you think about it, like the human existence has only, I guess they say, been here for like what, 60,000 years. Then they say Katipa Beke or whatever it's called. It's like 100,000 years old or something, and that could be showing human existence even longer. And so, I mean, it could just be time. But if you put it in I guess parallel to time itself, it ain't shit. 100,000 years, 60,000 years, 45,000 years, however long they say human existence have been on Earth, is not long at all. To be able to do this and actually get down, get your ass down. Matter of fact, hold on. 1 second. Let me get the vibes back on. 1 second, 1 second. Hold on. Get your ass over here. Didn't I tell you not to be jumping on the counters like that? Come on, you going to kitty land. Come on. Nah, come on. You trying to get me on my back turn. Come here. You had to go. You had to go. Sorry, I ain't putting up with that. Woo! Sorry about that. I had to take my cat to kitty land. That's the garage. If you're wondering. Cause fuck that shit. Nah, he ain't gonna be climbing on these goddamn tables. I ain't hit him. I don't hit him. I just yoke him up by the neck, scoop him by the butt, and take his ass in the garage. And there you go right there. See, look. Yo, why that sound like a cat crying and shit? What was that? Yo, y'all couldn't even see nothing.
Start some shit, but I think LA's on top right now. Peace to everybody, but LA is like patience.
Oh, this Earl Sweatshirt interview. Well, let me get it right. I'm gonna get it right, and I'm gonna get it right back. All right, this is going deep. We're only 15, 16, 17 minutes into this thing. Cause I keep stopping it, but I mean, this is the perfect video. Stop it. I mean, this is. I wish I was like debating with somebody, or not even debating, just watching this with somebody. I know somebody's in the chat. Shout out to you, whoever's watching it. It's me and you. That's the two people. But type in the chat if you have any questions or any input on this, because 17 minutes is crazy. I thought it was like 30 minutes in already. What the fuck is it at the end of this? He's talking about the tether. I guarantee you, if he at one point in this, he should be saying something about the latest thing that the astrophysicist, the black one. Damn, I know him with the mustache. Of course, we know what we're talking about. But he was just talking about the existence of the black matter and dark matter. And antimatter, that's what it is. Anti-energy, dark matter, anti-energy. I think those are the two. But the nobody can tell what is holding space and time together. You know, like what's pushing the universe and spreading the universe, and what's keeping everything, like what's in between space and time. And he was saying, damn, why can't I remember his name? Because I'm smoking, that's probably why. But he was saying that it was wormholes, a tether of wormholes. If you would think like it was sewn together and keeping everything in between, neatly tucked in between wormholes. And it's like how you move your hand like this. yeah, I did that. How you move your hand like this is like you moving through small wormholes in order to get through space and time. And then you think about big wormholes being able to rip through space and time the same way. In a more drastic way, I guess. But it's just like, back to my point on this, like, what blows my mind with the English language and numbers is that they actually work. Like internationally. It works everywhere. And then to come up with equations to make sense of physics and mathematics and algebra and trigonometry. And it just kept growing and growing. And does it go? It goes more. It has to, because then you got artificial intelligence. You had computer science after that. I mean before that, and then rocket science, and then space engineering and stuff like that. It goes like who is making this up? I know it's scientists and stuff like that, but like from the raw form of finding out and inventing and patenting all this stuff, like where it must come from something.
Of space and time.
Or someone.
I think, therefore I am. It was the French philosopher René Descartes who uttered these famous words, and this deep musing on the reality of being has reverberated throughout the centuries. But Descartes stared into more than just the meaning of being. One night in 1619, Descartes shut himself away in a small room to avoid the cold. As a mercenary fighting for the Dutch Protestant state, he had studied engineering and mathematics. But this frigid night would be like no other. The story goes that Descartes was confined to his sickbed, staring aimlessly around the room. He spied a fly walking across the ceiling before launching into flight, darting about and settling on the wall. As the fly buzzed about from ceiling to wall and back again, a thought wandered across Descartes' mind. How could he describe the journey of the fly? He realized that he needed a reference point to anchor the motion of the fly. And while this point is arbitrary, he must be consistent and not change it. He also realized that talking about the distance from this point to the fly is simply not sufficient, because as well as the distance, you need the direction of the fly to fully describe its motion. Then a startling thought came to Descartes, a realization that would simplify the fly's motion. For his point of reference, Descartes took the corner of the room, where two walls met the ceiling. From this point, Descartes imagined lines running along the joins, defining axes that meet at the corner at right angles. If you project the fly's location onto each of these axes, Descartes reasoned, then you get numbers, and it's these three numbers that you need to specify the location of the fly at any instant. Three numbers to you.
Slow down. Did anybody get what he just said? This man was laying in bed, saw a fly, wanted to explain the journey of the fly, and started breaking down the corner of a wall. Like, who thinks like this? What? Three numbers to uniquely define a location in three-dimensional space. Hold up. Let me just really try, because my head's starting to hurt thinking about this, like, seriously. That's how I know it's reaching my limit. I was good the first 15 minutes, but I think I'm getting lost right here. So if you project the fly's location onto each of these axes, why would you even think of this? Why you define the axes that meet the corner at right angles? I thought he was about to talk about the optical illusion where it looks inverted and concave, but it's concave. You know what I'm saying? But he said, if you project the fly's location on each of these axes, so the fly landed right here, which is on the wall, okay? He's trying to be able to tell where the fly is going to fall or fly. So then, in these three numbers you'll need. So then he said, if you go up the wall, and then across the ceiling, and then back to the corner. I'm gonna try this next time with a big ass fly swatter. You know, see if it works. And specify location of the fly at any instant. These three numbers to uniquely define a location in three-dimensional spaces.
Change continuously with the ticking of the clock. Descartes' coordinate system seems obvious to us today. Children are taught to use it when they encounter location and motion in elementary science. For professional scientists, laying down a Cartesian coordinate system is the start of finding solutions. And so Descartes' name continues to reverberate throughout the centuries. Dying in 1650, Descartes was unaware of a young boy growing up in the English countryside. This boy, Isaac Newton, would grow to use these notions of time and three-dimensional space, laying these down as the mathematical stage on which all motion takes place. It was Isaac Newton who laid out the rules that we now call classical mechanics. In Newton's universe, time is a true absolute. A single clock that ticks across the universe, a tick that everyone agrees on. Space was slightly more complicated, as Descartes' contemporary Galileo had discovered, as each observer has the freedom to define the origin of their own coordinate system. Galileo thought more in terms of stories than in the mathematics of Descartes or Newton, and he laid out his notions on motions in thinking about being on board a ship. He realized that if the ship was in a harbour or sailing smoothly on a glassy sea, then the experience below deck would be identical. However, if the wind picked up and the ship began to speed up, or if it sailed into choppy waters so the ship began to rock and roll, then those below deck would feel this change in motion, as plates and cutlery slide off tables and people become unsteady on their feet. From this, Galileo declared that there must be no absolute rest in the universe. All motion, he said, must be relative.
Oh, my boy. That's how you know he was a intern. He was definitely, was it a monk? He monking out here? But is that Isaac Newton? It's Galileo. I'm sorry, I was trying to fix the camera. I got a little lost.
Unsteady on their feet. From this, Galileo declared that there must be no absolute rest in the universe. All motion, he said, must be relative, and the laws of motion must be the same for observers in a state of unaccelerated motion. The first theory of relativity had arrived. These ideas are reflected in Newton's equations of classical mechanics. Every observer in uniform motion can use Newton's 3 laws to calculate the outcomes of experiments. It's easy to test this yourself by dropping a ball on a train station platform and seeing it fall to the floor. Repeat this experiment on a train traveling at uniform constant speed, and again, the ball will simply fall. If, however, you drop the ball at the start or end of the train journey, the train will be accelerating up to speed or slowing down as it approaches its destination. And dropping the ball at these times will see the ball veer towards the back or front of the train, seemingly defying Newton's laws as no forces are pushing in these directions. These fictitious forces only appear as your coordinate system is accelerating, and they vanish as soon as you achieve uniform motion. This picture of the background of reality existed for several seconds.
So he's saying whatever is in motion that's faster than a universal motion will eventually fall in line with the universal motion. So that ball dropping on the train that's moving faster than the universal motion, eventually, once the train slowed down, the ball kept moving until it matched to
centuries, until a Scottish physicist, James Clerk Maxwell, finally unraveled the mystery of light, and with it, the bizarre reality of our universe. Maxwell's impact on science was enormous. By the mid-1800s, Maxwell had mathematically united electricity and magnetism. There had been experimental clues that these strange phenomena were related.
Perfectly, bro. That was so satisfying.
Maxwell showed that these two things.
Imagine being Maxwell, finding out this equation, and then they got the chart out, and they say, Maxwell, look at this shit. Look how clean this motherfucker fit in.
Were one and the same. This was already an immense achievement, one for which Maxwell would become scientifically famous. But he looked deeper into his equations and realized that they implied something profound. He realized that light itself must be an electromagnetic phenomenon, oscillating and intertwined fields of electricity and magnetism. His equations also revealed the speed of light, a blistering 300,000 kilometers per second. But curiously, not what this speed is relative to. By just whose coordinates was this speed determined?
that the sun?
It seemed that a notion of absolute rest would be needed to save physics. Some had proposed that there was an absolute background, an ether in which light propagated throughout the universe, and had been creating experiments to test the idea. This included experiments bouncing light rays off mirrors, or sending a current through an electrical circuit and lighting a bulb. The outcomes of these experiments would depend on the motion relative to the ether, and were
like
built
water.
to demonstrate that the universe must possess an absolute state of rest. However, this would be a serious headache for Galileo's idea of relative motion. Why would electromagnetism know about this state of rest while the rest of physics didn't seem to care? Why would Galileo's relativity hold for everything except electromagnetism? Why would the physics of reality have to be so complicated?
He's telling me.
In 1905, one physicist
Complexity.
stated that it didn't have to be so messy, that the universe was not split
Now
into
play
some physics
soccer.
that obeyed Galileo and some physics that didn't. No, electromagnetism had to respect relative motion also. And so, at the start of the 20th century, Albert Einstein's special theory of relativity was born.
What a time.
At its core, the special theory of relativity reflects the dream of the lazy physicist, the dream of explaining as much as possible with as little as possible. Einstein demanded that all observers, irrespective of the relative motion, can use Maxwell's equations to calculate the outcome of electromagnetic experiments. But this comes with an uncomfortable consequence, as all observers must measure an identical value for the speed of light, and this was simply not possible with Newton's notion of space and time. And so space and time, Einstein claimed, are not rigid or absolute. Instead, they must be flexible, such that times and distances depended on who is observing them. This sounds like lunacy. Indeed, this is not the experience of our everyday lives, but experiments close to the speed of light reveal this distortion of space and time.
Gotta catch up.
And it was in the 1960s that irrefutable evidence for the twisting of time was found. The focus was on a subatomic particle, known as a muon, effectively a heavier version of the electron. But unlike the electron, which lives forever, muons only last for 2/millionths of a second. After this, the muon disintegrates into electrons and neutrinos. Physicists knew that high-energy muons were made in the upper atmosphere, created when particles from deep space smash into the gas molecules. As they travel close to the speed of light, the muons should have traveled half a kilometer before decaying, but physicists detected muons arriving at the ground after traveling many tens of kilometers. Why were these muons lasting so much longer than their lifetime said they should? The answer, physicists realized, lay in Einstein's special theory of relativity, and, in particular, a quantity known as the Lorentz factor, a factor that dictates the dilation of time. To explore this, we must understand the immediate consequence that sprang from the special theory of relativity. The speed of light is an absolute speed limit to the universe. No matter how hard we try or how much energy we have available, no object with mass could ever get up to the speed of light. The Lorentz factor depends on the relative velocity, but as speeds get closer to that of light, the Lorentz grows unbounded. And so though for the muon its life is over in just 2/millionths of a second, for the physicists here on Earth, the muon's life appears much longer, and it makes it to the ground. Of course, there is a flip side to this story, the other side of Einstein's strange relativistic coin. The physicists see the long-lived muon traveling tens of kilometers before decaying, but if you could ask the muon, it would say it had only covered a few hundred meters in its short life. Space, as well as time, can be distorted and dilated when speeds get close to that of light. And Einstein also realized that this speed limit had profound implications for information, as this could also not be transmitted faster than light. A classic example of this is that we don't see the sun as it is now, but as it was 8 minutes ago. And the light we...
Now, there's one thing that I would say, though. I think they found that could be faster than the speed of light, and that's quantum physics. when they had the understanding of two atoms being able to instantaneously react at the same time, no matter how far they were, and being able to try to turn it into a computer to be able to have that same reaction. And this was years ago, so I don't know if that would be the, I guess, faster than speed of light answer I would give, but let's see if they bring it up.
We see from the Andromeda Galaxy set off before humans walked the Earth. Through their telescopes, astronomers see galaxies as they were billions of years in the past.
Billions.
The universe, as it is now, is completely hidden from us. We only spy as it was in the past, along what is known as our past light cone.
What does that even
The
mean?
further an object is,
Billions
the
of
younger
years ago.
it appears. And other consequences from Einstein's view began to flow, where time and space mean different things to different observers. Without the absoluteness of Newton's time, there is no universally agreed now, and the relative nature of time means that observers disagree on how much time has passed. Einstein immediately realized that this doomed a cherished idea, the idea of synchronicity. This is the notion that two events at two different locations happen at exactly the same time. We experience this every day. It is part of the rhythm of life, where things happen at certain times. But this is all an illusion. And to understand this, let's take a look at one of Einstein's thought experiments. Consider three people riding in a speeding train
illusion
carriage.
would be
One person stands at
crazy.
the back of the carriage, one at the front, and one in the middle. As the train trundles along at uniform speed, these three people decide to do an experiment. The person in the middle of the carriage has equipment that will release a pulse of light. That pulse of light will travel to the back and the front of the carriage. At either end of the carriage, each person has a mirror that reflects the pulse back towards the middle, and at the instant the light is reflected, the person at either end raises their hands in the air. Of course, in any practical train carriage, this experiment would be over in a moment, and the sluggish reaction time of the people would be the limiting factor. But this is the beauty of thought experiments. We can ignore all these day-to-day limitations and just concentrate on the physics. Let's think about the situation on the train. Everything seems symmetrical, from the light pulse heading out and its reflection to the pulse being received back in the middle of the carriage and the experiment coming to an end. It seems reasonable to say that both hands were raised at the same time. It was synchronous. But let's now think about the view of an outside observer, not riding the train, but just standing on the platform. And for fun, let's make the train move very fast, close to the speed of light. Just what does this outside observer see as the train roars by and the experimenters experiment? Well, this is where it gets a little odd.
Come on, talk to
Our
me.
outside observer sees the experiment begin and the pulses of light heading along the carriage. But remember what Einstein's special relativity demands, that all observers see light travel at exactly the same speed, the speed of light. What influence does this have on what our observer sees? As the train is moving, the back of the carriage is reducing the distance that the light has to travel, while the front of the carriage is moving away, increasing the distance to the reflecting mirror. The light eventually bounces off each of the mirrors and makes its way back to the middle of the carriage. With the distances changing again, eventually both pulses make it back to the middle at the same instant. But when the outside observer is interrogated on what they saw, how would they describe the experiment? They will say that they saw the pulses emitted at the same time, that they saw the pulses arrive back in the middle at the same time, but they saw the reflections and hands being raised at different times. Synchronicity depends on who is doing the observing.
And where?
While Einstein was pleased with the special theory of relativity, he immediately spotted a problem, and that problem was gravity. Isaac Newton had given us his equations to
go.
describe gravity back in the 17th century, and these worked well in explaining the rate at which an apple falls from a tree or the orbit of the moon. Newton's equations, however, depended
on
on
with
the
the bullshit.
distance between masses. In Newton's universe, where time is absolute, we can talk about the separation at a precise now. But in Einstein's universe, where now is not universally defined, just which separation of the masses should we consider? Which now is now?
Then
This lack of synchronicity threw out
now.
the notion of a unique separation, and
then it's
Einstein
not
could
now,
find no way
there.
to shoehorn.
No, because I get it. I'm sticking with it. That's why I stay quiet, because I'm absorbing all this new shit. I had nothing to expel there. But here, I think I got it. Because the speed of light, of course, is a billion years difference from the nebula. You know what I'm saying? So now here is a billion years what now was there. So that's why you got to think reality is truly inward. I don't know if like it's outward. I think it's collectively, because we're all connected, created. I mean, that's like we're saying we're gods and shit at that point, because if we're the observers but the creators at the same time, then that's blasphemous. But I mean, we're talking science here. So that goes to the question once again: if we weren't here as a species to observe and live in this universe, then is it really here? But then in that same notion, you have light being their creation. Like without energy, I would say not just light, but energy, which creates light, then there would be nothing. But at the same notion, that is the fastest and most and only, I'm not going to say the only observable, but the fastest way to observe something is through light or with light. So that nebula that we are talking about a billion years ago, that we are just seeing with our telescopes, are in the same reality that we are observing it in a billion years ago. But there's no way. That's what I'm saying. That's why I wanted to pause it. That's why I'm pausing, because there's no way to see that nebula in reality in that now. In its now. We can only see it a billion years ago, and that's it. No matter if a billion years from now we are still here on Earth and we're still receiving all this light, it still wouldn't be anywhere close to what it looks like at its now. In the same reality, we are constricted to that point, unless there's some way we find quantum physics and be able to do that, teleportation or maybe wormholes or whatever like that. But that's just a crazy thing to discover. Is that what is actual now? What is I mean, time is only what we make it though. But time, even if we weren't here to make it, is still here. Because planets die, they turn in, stars turn into I have fucking damn, I can't, a dwarf star, and eventually die too. Like even if we weren't here, and eventually when we all do die, time is still going to be a thing. So time is a thing.
On Newton's gravity into his relativity. So eventually, he had no choice but to reject Newton's gravity in its entirety. He had to go back to the drawing board and redefine gravity from the ground up. But where in his equations could gravity be included? The answer was even more bizarre than what had come before. Both time and space were malleable.
Malleable. Hold on. savable, able to be of a metal or other material, able to be hammered or pressed permanently out of shape without breaking or cracking. Easily influenced, pliable, able to be hammered or pressed permanently out of shape without breaking or cracking. Capable of being extended or shaped by beating. Okay. So they're basically saying that both time and space were bendable, but not breakable.
Gravity could be encoded in the bending and stretching of the fabric of the cosmos. It took a decade of effort, but in 1915, Einstein had cracked the mathematics. It is this general theory of relativity that we use to describe the action of gravity today. No longer is gravity a force between two masses. Now, it is the curvature of space-time. It is these mathematics that we use to describe the expanding universe, and even rely on in our daily lives to help run GPS. The conclusions of Einstein's relativity still hold across the cosmos. There is no synchronicity, no universally agreed now. Time and space can be immensely warped and distorted, and whether things exist at the same time is simply in the eye of the observer.
Oh my God, bro. I knew this was gonna fuck me up. I feel so empathetic with this subject. It's like I think about it all the time. I feel it. I mean, like we're living in it. And a lot of people just don't care. It's like majority of the world don't even, I think they're not even strong enough to care. Because people go crazy thinking about shit like this because, I mean, it's scary. It truly is something that is intriguing, interesting, phenomenal, brilliant, disastrous, gargantuous, but it's fucking scary out of all those things. But it's like, it doesn't have to be that scary. It's just when you find out and you're just starting this whole thing out, it's like, fuck this shit. I don't even want to go any further. Because it's not a story. It's not a sci-fi movie. It's not a fucking sci-fi romantic book. We're talking about before, now, and after what has been and will always be. That was one of the statements that used to scare the shit out of me all the time when I heard it, was that, infinity, like we have always been here, will always be here, and have always been here. I think I said that, I don't know, twice, but that's just how serious it is. It's like something that's always been here, and this is just a fractal of time that we're experimenting with right now, and capable of so much, so fucking much that we can't even comprehend, but we still have constrictions that seem like they get released in increments, and we gradually get more and more information, and then you have motherfuckers like this, like Albert Einstein, redefining gravity from a whole philosopher that people were following for I don't know how long. Was it like 100 years, couple tens of years? But people lived this way. They believed this until Einstein's talking about the theory of relativity and how gravity it sits in a pocket of space and time and proves it with a whole mathematical equation. Like, this shit is intriguing. It's interesting. It really is. But it's not a story. This is real life. He just said that the time is different because it's only whatever moment is for the observer. It depends on where and who you are. And it's not just where you are, it's who you are and what you're doing. is intriguing.
And so now we can return to the remarkable
pissing me
quasar
off,
study
man, I swear.
in 2023. Did time really run slower when the universe?
I wish I could just fly and be able to do this. So see this shit in person. I want to see a quasar. Imagine if you was able to just to be like, all right, boom, damn, that's a big ass quasar. Your ass is sitting there. Damn, this is the universe. Fly over to a star nebula. Imagine being able to see stars being born. That's not a fucking story, man. It's not a fucking fairy tale, man. It's fucking real life. You can look up in the sky in the mountains and see that shit. A whole nebula, the galaxy that we live in. You can see stardust just being made. And that's our reality. It's not just like, this is all of this. Let's keep going.
Well, if you were there,
I can already
back
tell
in
I'm
the
a chatter.
infinite cosmos,
Too much
1 second
chatter.
would feel
This shit gonna be
like
4
1
hours long.
second. But as the universe expands,
We had
the light
2
that travels
hours
through
already.
it is
It's like
stretched.
30 minutes.
This malleable, stretchy nature of space-time leads to what we observe in the distant
Anti-gravity.
cosmos being pulled thin across
Anti-man.
time. And so it seems to us that the distant past ticked by at a slower pace. And an even more extreme version of this concept is shown in the time dilation experienced around black holes. Space-time is warped to impossible extremes in the center of a black hole, but it is also warped and stretched as you get closer to the horizon. And so your experience of time slows down in comparison to
So the
distant
universe
observers.
stretching.
Bizarrely, these
space
two
and time,
ideas,
black holes
time
do it
dilation
too.
around black holes and time dilation of the distant past, despite the vastly different contexts in which they arise, are effectively the same thing. And so, from the earliest decades of the 20th century, our vision of time was changed forever. In Einstein's revolutionary view of the universe, the passage of time is utterly personal. Your clock, be it mechanical like a watch or biological like the beat of your heart, ticks and talks at a regular 1 second per second. But other people's clocks can tick radically different relative to yours. If they are moving differently to you, if they sit somewhere differently to you, in a different gravitational field, or if they are located in a different epoch of the life of the universe. This bending of time is part of the cosmos. The long-lived muons smashing into the surface of the Earth are testament to this, as are experiments where atomic clocks are taken for journeys around the Earth, ticking their own ticks so they are desynchronized when they are reunited. And we might even be able to use this relative nature of time to travel into the future. All we would need to do is hang out in the intense gravitational field of a black hole, a place where time, relative to the rest of the universe, effectively grinds to a halt. So whilst minutes or hours pass for you,
Yo, this shit is fucking me up. Do you understand? Like, I'm looking at this picture right now. Like, if you were entering into a black hole, and he's saying, because I feel like I felt this before. I'm not even bullshitting you. The experience of everything that's stopping. I was on shrooms, mind you this, but I mean, just how he said. That like proves it even more. What happened to me, it happened because if somebody is sober-minded and able to be somewhere completely different in the world, or living a whole nother life somewhere else, but their time is different than us. I mean, even how we spin on our axis, not our axis, on our axis and around the sun is like all scoped on time. But like my birthday would be different if I was over in Japan than if I was over here. I would be like, damn, it's my birthday today. A whole day earlier, or 12 hours earlier. So it's like a true statement just on Earth, but just think about this though. Everything around this black hole is stretching space and time in a way where, as that earlier example, the nebula is a billion light years away from where we can see, and we can never reach the actual moment that is a true nebula unless we, time travel there or whatever. But they're saying around this black hole, if you go into the horizon of the black hole, eventually time slows down and then it halts. So whilst minutes or hours pass for you, when you emerge, years and decades will have passed outside. So minutes and hours will be. So, I mean, this is not a fucking fairy tale. When I was a kid, like, all this stuff felt like that because everything did. But as a grown, conscientious man that has somewhat of a broad thought box with this, you know what I'm saying? It's like intriguing. But it pisses me off because it's like real. This is like a possibility that we can't even like think about. Like, this is not this is a rendition of what a black hole really looks like, but this is not. This is really out there doing something like this, where it's taking what we think of, all our thought process, what keeps us constructed together in order to keep all this shit, practical. It just gets thrown out the window at that point. If you were in the middle of a black hole and experiencing the time that drastic of a difference, well, whilst minutes and hours pass for you, it's a whole year, 12 decades that pass. Every fucking 12 minutes, it's 12 decades that pass, and you get back and nobody's alive. It was only 12 minutes. And you're saying, what? Hold on, you said, ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien, ¿no? ¿Y tú? No, señor. Tu culo es muy gras. Oh, no. No bueno. That's no good. But that can happen. Interstellar. Check it out. We know about it. But this is real life. This thing is out here. And eventually will gobble up the whole universe. And take us to where?
When you emerge, years and decades.
Where are you
will have passed
taking me?
outside.
My daughter! No!
Pulling yourself away
Back to the
from
apple.
the
Come
distant
on.
universe, you
Come
drag
on,
your
man.
attention back to the apple.
Maybe imagine taking shrooms on this though. It's like I would really feel like he's talking to me. I might do this one time if I get 20,000 likes on whenever in the future. I might take like a eighth of shrooms and watch this and see what it does to me.
You feel sure that the apple is here right now, no more than a couple of meters away.
Oh
But you
shit!
now have to accept.
Oh
that your
shit!
now
Look, that was
is
scared the
precisely
fuck
that.
out of me.
The now.
Oh, I'm
belongs
so
to you.
scared. I'm like, oh, what the
Another
fuck?
way that your reality
Yo,
is
back
yours
up.
and yours alone.
Oh, let me get it right because I ain't hear that.
The now. You have to accept that your now is precisely that. The now that belongs to you. Another way that your reality is yours and yours alone. This
He's
thought
spitting
makes
right
you
now.
furrow your brow as the idea swirls in your mind.
It does.
When and where reality
fucking
is
does.
seems to be a slippery question, but what it is could perhaps be simpler. What is the world around you made of? How would you dismantle the universe?
Number one. Part 3. The ingredients of reality.
The atom split, huge force released.
Atom bomb.
So screamed the headlines of the Melbourne Argus in May 1932. Cambridge achievement, success of British scientists. The nature of reality had been smashed into pieces. The headline was carried in a newspaper 20,000 kilometers from the laboratory in Cambridge, a testament to the earth-shattering nature of the discovery. A goal of ancient philosophers and seers had finally been achieved.
How the fuck do you
For the
split an
British
atom,
scientists,
nigga?
Ernest Walton.
Hold on, bro. I'm trying not to pause. I swear to God, but I just need to ask, bro. Look at this shit. What the fuck is this? Now you really gotta think about what the fuck he just said. They just split an atom. The compound of life. They researched it. They discovered it. They put a magnifying glass to it and they would take a picture of it. And then that motherfucker split it in half. He said the nature of reality had been smashed into pieces. It just gets deeper, bro. It's like that meme they show on Instagram that has like a, what is it, Incredible Dad? And like the deepness of the ocean, you got the boat up top, and it's like the levels of like the deep web and how deeper it goes. And the deeper it goes, the more fucked up shit. And the fucked up he looks, he turns into a fucking zombie, a skeleton, the motherfucking a scared man, a fucking boogeyman, all type of shit. Like that's what this is happening to me right now. They just put a fucking atom.
The headline was carried in a newspaper 20,000 kilometers.
In this, what the fuck is this? How do you come up with the materials to build this shit? Ain't nothing in here. Everything in here 101 it looked like. Everything in here had to be like, all right, boom. I need to figure out what this is. All right, boom. I need to figure out how to split it. Boom. I need to figure out what to split it with. Like once you figure out, okay, that's probably a mathematical equation they had to figure out. And then they had to figure out how to make these things. Like, look at these two balls right here. You just got two balls. I bet it was like electricity passed through here. And you had to pass it through this in the ground up to this tube right here. And it's like, oh, we need this metal sheet right here in order to split the tube at this point. And this point too, and we need this little string right here in order to carry it to this little fucking water tower down here.
Meters
And
from the
come
laboratory
on,
in
man.
Cambridge, a testament
Don't
to
forget
the
the sheet.
earth-shattering
I need the
nature of
goddamn sheet.
discovery. A goal of ancient philosophers and seers had finally been achieved. For the British scientists, Ernest Walton and
Aliens,
John Cockcroft
man.
were
These British
modern-day
aliens.
alchemists. But instead of fire and brimstone, their laboratory gleamed with metal and wires. With electricity, magnetism, and a beam of particles, they were able to transmute elements. Lithium was split into two new atoms of helium. Their discovery showing that the world of the
intercepted
subatomic
it.
was now in the physicist's grasp.
So lithium was the key to split
The question of just what matter is had been on the minds of philosophers for a long time. Some objects were clearly similar. Stones of various shapes and sizes were hard, while the solidness of stones contrasted with the squishiness of human flesh. They seem quite different, even fundamentally different, at their core. Philosophers had wondered if the stuff of nature was infinitely divisible. Whether, like our apple, you could continue to slice it and dice it into smaller and smaller pieces. But ancient Greek and Indian thinkers had a new thought, that things are composed of ultimate pieces, tiny pieces we now know as atoms, from the
Periodic
Greek for
tables.
uncuttable. To the ancient philosophers, these
Elements.
atoms were the fundamental pieces of reality.
Oh, okay.
However,
deeper.
the notion that all things are made of atoms remained a philosophical musing for a few thousand years. But by the 18th century, scientific evidence for the physical existence of atoms was emerging. And not from the experimental laboratories of physicists, but from that of a botanist.
A what? A botanist? A botanist? What?
Laboratories of physicists, but from that of a botanist.
Botanist. He look mad. He look sick.
The botanist in question was Robert Brown, born in
happy
Scotland in 1773.
My man
He
look
had a
happy there.
distinguished career,
He caught him
traveling
on
the
a good
world in
day.
the ship The Investigator to chart plant life.
Oh, he probably-
Many years later, in
he had a
1827,
ship.
he was still studying the world of plants, but his focus was tiny grains of pollen. This pollen was floating on the surface of water, and Brown examined it under a microscope.
Look at
But what
that,
Brown
man.
saw mystified him.
If that was an alien ship, now hear me out. That exists. Looking just like that. At least that's his rendition when he drew it. And that's symmetrical like that. and it's out here. But if it was a million times bigger than what it is right now, that thing would be treacherous. But there's fucking, I don't know, millions, maybe thousands of different things that look like this, microscopic. So it exists. So
Instead of sitting
watch out,
restfully
nigga.
on the water,
Watch your
he saw them
nostrils.
dance and jiggle. Brown knew that
it
pollen
dance
came
and
from
jiggle.
plants, so perhaps the jiggling was due to life in action, that the pollen grains were able
This
to
thing
propel
better not be
themselves
alive.
through the liquid. But other materials, clearly dead material like chalk dust, showed the same kind of dance. This Brownian motion had nothing to do with life. Many people pondered the question of the jiggling pollen as seen by Brown, but the answer would not be found for another 7 decades, until 1905, arguably the most famous year in all of
In
science.
all of science.
Albert Einstein's Annus Mirabilis. In this year of miracles, Einstein is generally remembered for one particular discovery,
Young
his
Stein.
special theory of relativity and all the weirdness of space and time that conveys. But it is also the year he revolutionized quantum physics through the photoelectric
They're
effect.
starting to talk
And
about it.
he finally explained the weird motion found by Robert Brown.
My boy looks.
Einstein's
Why do he do his
insight
cheeks
is as
like
simple
that? Hold
as
up.
it is
Why did he do his cheeks like that though, man? Why he look like he got what is it? Starts with an S. Damn, I can't think of nothing today. Cerealis. Let's go with that.
Einstein's
Cerealis.
insight is as simple as it is brilliant. He
Syphilis.
realized that the jiggling of the pollen was not the pollen propelling itself, but being propelled by external forces, forces delivered by the collision of individual water molecules. But how can this possibly be? A pollen grain, whilst tiny, is a billion times heavier than a water molecule. How can the crash of a water molecule into pollen have any influence at all?
How do you find that out?
Imagine you are at a truly massive rock concert, with music blasting from the stage. You are deep in the crowd, a crowd of tens of thousands of people. Now
Hey, don't
again,
copyright
the
my
crowd
shit now.
surges to the left, or right, front or back, and in these surges, all you can do is go with the crowd. Intermittently, the surges die away as you
rest in
stand
peace,
shoulder to
Astro.
shoulder with your fellow revelers. But the crowd is restless. You are jostled from all sides, a push from here and a push from there. Your body moves as you try to hold your space, but you slowly start to jiggle about due to the relentless pushes. These pushes are not even, sometimes more from the right, sometimes the left, sometimes front or back, with you unable to predict from where the next push will come. No matter what you do, your entire body moves a little this way and a little that way.
What if they just did the whole concert as it was all extras, and they just needed what is it, like a little video clip, and then anybody can use a concert clip, because that don't look like no real concert, did it? Who was on stage? But it's packed. That's packed. Hopefully I get that many people come to see me one day. Who is this?
Music blasting from the stage.
Oh, somebody playing on.
You are deep in the crowd.
Tell me in the chat if you can find out who that is. You get $50 when I get 20,000 likes. Comment down below.
Einstein realized that Brownian motion was precisely this kind of drunkard's walk. Every second, he said, an uncountable number of water molecules collide with a grain. The net result is that these fluctuations and collisions back and forth lead to the random jiggling, and the pollen grain dances along to the molecular tune. From his calculations, Einstein was able to calculate the size of the collisions and their fluctuations, confirming that water was comprised of an immense number of absolutely microscopic molecules. And so atomic hypothesis became atomic reality, and atoms appeared to be the building blocks of our world. And yet, just as their existence was proven, these indivisible atoms began to divide. It was in 1896 that Henri Becquerel and Marie Curie found that the world of the atom was unstable, and that some elements could transmute into
Okay.
others, spitting out other pieces as they did so. And in
Atom
1897,
smashing.
J.J. Thomson discovered the electron. It was clear that something was living inside the atoms that made up reality, and the race to split the atom and
I'm
reveal
starting to
its
get like
contents
memories of science
was
class
on.
popping up in my head
For
when I
his
learned
discovery,
about
Thomson was
protons and
awarded a
neutrons
Nobel
and
Prize in
electrons.
1906, but it was his protege that was to truly reveal the structure of matter, the father of nuclear physics, Ernest Rutherford.
Damn, bro, ain't no black people, Spanish people, Indian people, Chinese people discover reality? Like the building blocks of reality. That's what we're talking about right now. I mean, I think the chapter was ingredients of reality. Last one. I'm not sure what this third one was, but that's it, man. Yeah, I know there's contributors, but we're talking about the building blocks of reality. I know there's like physics and mathematics departments and psychology and all that stuff that kind of broadens that statement a bit. But we're talking about I wonder why.
In the first decade of the 20th century, Rutherford set two young men to probe the structure of matter. In a darkened room at the University of Manchester, they peered into inky blackness. They were looking for tiny flashes that indicated a collision as tiny pieces hit a fluorescent screen, and the results so far had been precisely as expected. The two men were Hans Geiger and Ernest Marsden. Geiger's name would be immortalized in the radiation detector named after him, but that still lay several years into his future. For now, he patiently stared into the darkness, logging each of the tiny flashes that he spied. The experiments continued, counting flash after flash, until one day Rutherford suggested that they look for flashes where none should be expected. So Geiger and Marsden dutifully modified their experiment and again stared into the darkness. And it was then they changed our understanding of physical reality forever. Rutherford was stunned, saying it was the most incredible event of his life. At 40 years old, he was still quite young, but had already been awarded a Nobel Prize for his work. But with this new experiment, the atomic world would never be the same again. But why? What had they seen? And what had it meant? Thomson's discovery of the electron had provided new clues to the structure of atoms. The electron clearly carried some negative electric charge, so inside the atom must be a mix of positive and negative charges, as overall they are neutral. The question was just how this charge was distributed.
Observing.
Thomson had proposed his model for the nature of the atom, something we now know as the plum pudding model. Confusingly, a plum pudding doesn't contain any plums, but it's actually a fruitcake with raisins. And the electrons, Thomson said, were just like these raisins, suspended in a positive mixture of cake. It was precisely this model of the atom that Rutherford was testing in his experiment. He created a beam of alpha particles, charged helium nuclei emitted from a radioactive source, and directed them to crash into a foil of gold. And it was the recoil of these collisions that Geiger and Marsden were looking for as they peered for flashes in the dark. As the alpha particles impacted the gold foil, many of them sailed right through, missing the gold atoms entirely. However, now and again, an alpha particle would crash directly into an individual gold atom. Rutherford surmised that these should feel the push and pull of the charges within the atom, and their paths would be deflected out of the beam. If Thomson was correct, and the atom was a general mix of positive and negative charges, then these deflections would be relatively modest, flung only slightly from the beam. And this is what Geiger and Marsden had spied as they sat in the darkness of their Manchester laboratory. But following Rutherford's suggestion, they also found alpha particles scattered far, far from the beam. Rutherford was astonished.
Okay, so what I think he's saying the experiment was that Rutherford was looking into the box when he was seeing those flashes of lights, and he was observing the lights, and then he started to, him and his colleague, observe the middle or in between these flashes of lights. I don't get that part where he then shot a beam of light through gold atoms. So he was shooting, atoms being from the light, the laser, into the gold atoms, and most of the atoms passed through the gold foil, but some other atoms collided with other gold atoms and caused them to just go all over the place, or in just separate places, and that's what this is demonstrating. But then he said that some of them went far as hell. So let's see what they're talking about.
For an alpha particle to be so radically scattered was simply impossible in Thomson's vision of the atom. Rutherford would go on to say, "It was quite the most incredible event that has ever happened to me in my life. It was almost as incredible as if you fired a 15-inch shell at a piece of tissue paper, and it came back and hit you." But the question remained, if Thomson's atom could not explain the scattering of alpha particles, what could? Rutherford concluded that instead of being spread out, the positive charge must be tightly concentrated, so that there is an immense electromagnetic repulsion between the atomic charge and the alpha particle, so immense in fact that the alpha particle can be flung in any direction. And this led to a rather confounding picture of just what an atom is.
And that's why I think atom bombs come into play. This is where I think they discovered splitting atoms, and then it causing immense separation of negative, protons or neutrons? I think neutrons, right? It was negative. And then atom bombs came into play because of the immense pressure that it caused when you did it. So it's a reaction. I hope I'm right.
Rutherford knew that the electrons in the atom carried a negative charge. This charge must be broadly spread over the volume of the atom, spread so thinly that they barely influence the alpha particle.
Yo, why do they do that? Why do they name the electrons as a negative atom or whatever particle? Why is the neutron positive then? It's negative neutron. It doesn't make no sense.
The electrons, however, carried very little mass. This meant that the totality of the mass must sit in the positive charge at the nucleus of the atom. But whilst massive, the nucleus is very small, tens of thousands of times smaller than the atom. And so with this, the vast majority of the volume of an atom became nothing but empty space.
What?
With Rutherford's insights, the startling Pandora's box of nuclear physics was open. Rutherford's atom fractures our view of reality, of the apparently solid nature of the world around you. Every chair, every wall, every tree, every apple is made of atoms, tied together into myriad molecules that define structure, color, and everything else. But it seems that this is nothing more than an illusion.
You've been saying
Apples
that.
are made of water, vitamins, and butyl and hexylacetate.
You've been saying that a
the
lot.
molecules responsible for their taste.
You trying to tell me
Each
there,
atom in each
AI?
molecule is really a cloud of electrons surrounding a minuscule nucleus, and the vast majority of each atom is nothing but empty space. So the apple is mostly empty space, and its solid appearance but an illusion. Of course, it's not only the apple, but everything that has the illusion of being solid. Everything, including yourself.
So I wonder if you really think about it, can you walk through it?
This is disconcerting, but maybe you
Is that
can
what he's
try and
saying?
comfort yourself with this image of yourself in reality. Maybe it's okay that atoms are mostly nothing but empty space. They're still made of something, with a nucleus and orbiting electrons. Surely those pieces are real. Surely those pieces are really there. But as they had with the molecule and atom before it, physicists would quickly realize that the mysterious nucleus of an atom was also far from fundamental. On the 10th of August 1915, a sniper found his target. His rifle trained on the enemy, he steadied his breathing and began to apply gentle pressure to the trigger. Birds scattered as the shot rang out. The sniper's aim was true and the enemy crumpled to the ground. The sniper moved on. There were plenty more to hunt. But little did he know that his bullet had snuffed out one of the greatest minds of the 20th century. World War I cost 20 million lives, both soldier and civilian, with many more wounded and injured. The failed Gallipoli campaign, seeking to weaken the Ottoman Empire, cost 100,000. Every life lost is a tragedy, a missing loved one whose potential goes unrealized. But this is particularly true of Henry G.J. Moseley. For before he joined up to be a soldier, something he did out of duty and against the wishes of his family, Moseley was a scientist who was unraveling the inner workings of the atom's nucleus. Born in 1887 in Dorset, England, the son of an Oxford professor, Moseley was a stellar student, studying at Oxford before joining Rutherford in Manchester in 1910. He had started to use X-rays to bombard different elements, with the hope of revealing the secrets of their atoms. As he did this, he had spied X-rays being emitted at different energies, and guessed something deep within the atom was causing them. There was also a pattern. In heavier elements, thought to contain heavier atoms, higher energy X-rays were emitted. In Holland, the amateur physicist Antonius Johannes van den Broek presented a bold idea. He knew that electrons, carrying the negative charge inside atoms, came in discrete chunks. Each electron appeared to have the same mass and the same charge. So what if the nucleus was the same, built of separate but positive charges? All atoms appear to be electrically neutral, so these positively charged chunks should exactly balance the negatively charged ones, and the only difference between the elements would be the number of positive charges in the nucleus, as this would set the number of orbiting electrons and dictate how the atom interacts with others. The simplest element would have one of these charges, the next two, and so on. And Moseley realized that this was the pattern he was seeing with his X-rays. And with this one insight, he rearranged the periodic table based on what we now know as the atomic number, still the form of the periodic table that we use today. Speaking in
Yo, y'all remember back in science class where we had to remember this? Did anybody else have to remember the periodic table for science? Like for a course of tests, and that was it? God. Like in high school. No, it wasn't even high school. It was middle school. We had to learn all, what was it, 52 of them? Or am I tripping? Or is it 112 or something like that? Yeah, it's more than 52. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 20. Yeah, how many? Let me see real quick. Please stay up. Please stay with me. Let's see how many on here real quick. Periodic table. How many elements? I'm gonna say 162. Ah, damn, 118. 118 elements. Is there 200 elements? Who asked that question? What the? Are there 119? Who asked? Thought to be the alkali metal with an oxidative state of +1. Alkali metal? What's that? It's an extra element. Let's see what an extra element is. I ain't never heard of this before. See an image of it. Oh, okay, so these lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, francium, robots in disguise. Alkali metals are 6 chemical elements in group 1. They are lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, and francium, except hydrogen. It has 1 electron in its most outer shell, but it is not classed as an alkali metal since it's not a metal but a gas at room temperature. It gets that deep, y'all. It's not a metal, but it has the same components as a metal. That's just weird. I wish the atoms would come together on this cheap ass mic stand so it could stay up. Like, come on, man. Come on, bruh. Thank you. Oh, who nasty ass feet is that? Ew. I mean, ew.
Still
Disgusting.
the form of the periodic table that we use today. Speaking in 1962, long after Moseley's untimely death, the giant of quantum mechanics Niels Bohr said, You see, actually, the Rutherford work was not taken seriously. There was no mention of it in any place.
Oh my God.
The great change came from Moseley. And who knows what else Moseley would have contributed to science had he not been cut down by that sniper's bullet in 1915. Things moved quickly as the Great War ground towards its eventual end. It was again Rutherford, always at the forefront, who was deep in the discovery. And through his investigations into radioactivity, he finally uncovered the true nature of the atom. Hydrogen was the simplest element, just one piece of positive charge joined by one electron, whereas helium had two positive charges and two electrons. Then lithium with 3 of each, beryllium with 4, and so on and so on. Like the electron, each of these positive charges were identical, both in terms of the charge they carried and the mass they were made of. Rutherford named these positively charged, massive particles protons, and eventually, in 1932, after being theorized for years, the neutron was also identified in experiments. The makeup of the atom was complete. It had started off as a mess of complexity, becoming simplified through the realization that the world is built from 92 natural elements. But with the discovery of the proton, neutron, and electron, things became simpler still, with atoms of all the elements and their isotopes built of nothing but these 3 key pieces of reality. In the outer reaches of the atom roam the electrons, negatively charged tiny particles that whiz around at close to the speed of light. And at the very heart of the atom sits the nucleus, positively charged and comprised of protons and neutrons. It is the home to atomic mass. But as Rutherford's new view of atoms took hold, others realized it spelt doom for physics as they knew it. It contained a fatal flaw. There is, they said, no way an electron can remain in its orbit. Rutherford's version of the atom should not be able to exist at all. The problem came from James Clerk Maxwell's equations of electromagnetism. These demanded that an accelerating charge must radiate away its energy as electromagnetic waves, and as an orbiting electron is in a constant state of acceleration, it must constantly lose energy. It should spiral into oblivion in the nucleus of the atom. There was nothing in the physical laws of Newton or Maxwell that seemed to prevent this. Nothing in the laws of reality as we understood them could make matter stable. So physicists made a decision. They decided to change the rules, and in the process, change the nature of reality forever. In 1943, the father of quantum mechanics mechanics Niels Bohr found himself in a predicament. Germany had declared his family Jewish, and his arrest was imminent. So, with the help of the Dutch resistance, he fled to neutral Sweden. But his trials and tribulations were not over. For the British heard of his escape and decided they needed this quantum legend. The Second World War had been raging for 4 long years, and the Allies had decided that a new weapon, an atomic weapon, must be developed to end the carnage. Bohr's insights into the subatomic
Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. 1, 2.
An atomic weapon.
Shit!
Carnage. Bohr's insights into the subatomic.
Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. 1, 2. Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. Mic check, mic check, mic check. What? Fuck. Mic check, mic check. Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. Why is it so low? Mic check, mic check. Why is this so low? What? Mic check, mic check. Mic check. Mic check, mic check. Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. Why is it so low? Mic check, mic check. Why is this so low? Mic check, mic check. Mic check. Mic check, mic check. Yo, yo, yo. Yo, it's probably why, cause it's probably cause I had the volume down. Mic check. Yo, it's probably why, cause it's probably cause I had the volume down. Mic check. Yo, it's probably why, cause I need a new mic. I need a new fucking life, cause this is not reality right now. Yeah, welcome. I appreciate that, Bliss. Welcome to the chat, man. Thank you for the love and watching the video. Yeah. If you are new to the chat, check out my YouTube channel, Hershey Pop Fly. That's where I'll be uploading the streams. I already got one up on there right now. It's doing numbers. 97 5 days ago. That's crazy. And also follow my other YouTube channel. It's Hellcat Hirsch. If I can switch to it real quick. And Bliss is talking about this. This video right here. Recorded? Yeah, I'm out here trying to take the EC. My Durango. Hellcat shot. Yeah. She put her ear close. She didn't want to. So check that out if you get a chance to. I appreciate you. Follow here too, so we can all get better. You know, it's not all about, rowdy, ratchet shit all the time. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we gotta get down to business. All right? Because eventually we all gonna have to face this question. I don't know if we'll ever get an answer. But what is reality? And so far we're 2 hours in, almost 3 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes in, and we're only 57 minutes into the video. That shows how much pondering and talking I've been doing, and how much this video's been fucking me up. But it got kind of informative right now. So we're on Bohr's. We're talking about all the scientists and skip Einstein. We have Robert Thomas, you know what I'm saying? And now we're on Bohr's and Boris. I think that's his name. So stick with me, and we're gonna figure this thing out. If you have any questions, put it in the chat, cause nigga.
World would benefit them and stop the enemy from following the same path. Retrieved from Sweden and travelling in disguise as James Baker, Bohr eventually made his way to a secret town in New Mexico. And there, at Los Alamos, he contributed to the Manhattan Project and the building of the atomic bomb. Shyly, he always claimed that he wasn't really needed amongst the bright young minds, but project director Robert Oppenheimer disagreed. The early days of quantum mechanics were a heroic time. It was not the doing of any one man, it involved the collaboration of schools of scientists from many different lands. But from the first to the last, the deeply creative, subtle and critical spirit of Niels Bohr guided, restrained, deepened, and finally transmuted the enterprise. For 3 decades earlier, in 1913, as the world had been on the precipice of another world war, Bohr's mind had been focused not on how to unleash the power of the atom, but the question of why atoms existed at all. If Rutherford was right on the structure of the atom, then why didn't the electron simply spiral into the nucleus, just as the physical laws of Newton and Maxwell demanded? Revolution had been brewing for decades. By the close of the 19th century, physics had seemed pretty complete, except for a few niggles. Yet those niggles...
Whoa. Hold up now. Let me. Need to restart my headset real quick, huh? Yo, light up watching this. Get high with me. Bro, Oppenheimer is a great movie. Oh, you want this a whole movie on him? Okay. So, because he built the atomic bomb, of course, I would say. So he's German? Is he German, Bliss?
Physics had seemed pretty complete, except for a few niggles. Yet those niggles came to dominate and rewrite physics as we know it. And it all began with the question of why hot objects glow. Clearly, to make an object glow, you have to supply it with energy. This energy makes atoms vibrate, vibrations that generate light, the glow of a hot object. We know that an iron poker in a fire glows with a beautiful cherry red, and as we make it hotter, this red gives way to white and blue. But the question of why this particular choice of colours became the focus of a 42-year-old Max Planck, who combined the rules of established physics to understand how matter and light interacted. But his calculations failed time and time again, and as he reached a moment of absolute despair, he decided to rewrite the physics rulebook, as many had done before him and would do after, but never again with quite such far-reaching ramifications. Electromagnetic energy, he said, came in distinct packets of light. These discrete vibrations and light packets had to be quantized. And suddenly, Planck's strange new mathematics explained the glow of a hot poker.
No, it doesn't, bruh. No, it fucking doesn't. He just said after intense research and a lot of failure and redefining physics, and that'd be beforehand and even after, it just keeps going down to a fractal. He was born in New York. Oh, okay. I mean, is he German though? A German descent? But he said that these electrons being the negative, right? Because electrons are negative and neutrons are positive, right? It releases pockets of light, which create this array of friction that creates heat, because the light creates friction, which is heat. But where the fuck are these pockets of light? It's like it goes deeper and deeper. It's like you keep finding what's inside something until it gets down to a quark or whatever, and then it just keep going deeper. Like it's these examples of light. What is that? Okay. Jewish. The luxury to be
quantized.
A scientist.
And suddenly, Planck's strange new mathematics explained the glow of a hot poker.
The glow of a hot poker.
Planck thought all he had done was perform a little mathematical wizardry, but by 1905, Einstein also said that light comes in discrete chunks, quanta of energy, explaining how electrons are ejected from metal when under a light source. Suddenly, the quantized world was popping up everywhere.
Now, there's another nigga in there. You see one nigga in there, I give you $50. You see a nigga in here, I give you $50.
Revolution was gathering pace as the subatomic world was...
What I tell you, Einstein, that's one nigga I know. All right? We'll take him. All right?
Bare. And it was Rutherford's insights that showed the atom itself would have to be quantized. But just what rules governed this quantized atom eluded him, and these answers came from Bohr. Electrons, said Bohr, were only allowed to exist in distinct orbits around a nucleus. These orbits are set by the momentum of the electron, and so each orbit has a specific energy. Electrons can move between orbits only if the exact energy difference is absorbed or emitted. And there would be the smallest orbit that brought the electron no closer to the nucleus. In demanding electrons could only exist in certain orbits with certain energies, Bohr had quantized and saved the atom from collapsing in on itself with only chunks of energy able to change the atomic state. This was a resounding success for Bohr, securing him the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1920.
Years old, bro. I'm 34, bro. I need to do something in 3 years. This man makes what? He makes atoms artificially? What the fuck? Hold up. Is that what they talked about? They talked about the orbit of electrons. And they still ain't talking about no protons yet. I'm still trying to figure out where protons going to play, because that's the nucleus and that's electrons.
With only chunks of energy able to change the atomic state. This was a resounding success for Bohr, securing him the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1922. But physicists still scratched their heads as to why the atom was quantized. And this answer would come 2 years after Bohr received his prize in Sweden from a radical proposition by a French aristocrat and physicist named Louis de Broglie. He had been watching the quantum revolution unfold and was perplexed by the notion that light, which was a wave in classical electromagnetism, sometimes behaved like a particle, delivering its energy right? In this quantum world, thought de Broglie, why should matter not be subject to this duality? So he declared that an electron, which had been thought of as a distinct particle, also possessed wave-like properties in its existence. Just like light, de Broglie said, electrons can be refracted and can interfere. And it was Schrödinger who applied this to Bohr's atom, asking us to think of the wave of the electron as not at a precise point, but spread over the entirety of the orbit. And so Bohr's quantized atom finally made sense. The electrons were behaving as waves and could only have certain wavelengths. Today, the notion that quantum objects can be particles and waves is common knowledge.
So what I'm guessing, because I mean they're losing me a little bit here because they're going a little deeper than I expected so early. No, I think I'm grasping is that because of the wavelengths of the electrons around the neutron, depending on the wavelengths, it's the element, basically, because everything is made of atoms. So what makes them different, what makes everything different, is the wavelengths of the electrons around the neutron. And I guess Bohr was able to manipulate and artificially make atoms into different things by manipulating the orbit around the neutron. See, bro, come on, stay with me, because this is reality. I asked for this. I'm getting this so I can relay the message to the next guy to ask. You know what I'm saying? This video literally just came out 12 hours ago. And I started watching this when it said 9 hours ago. Like, when I saw this video, I was on this video. I was asking this question all week. I mean, all my life, though. But literally this past week, I've been looking at my hands and sitting in the car like, what the fuck is this? Like, am I doing this right? Is this like what is this gone behind me? Like, I asked the big questions because nobody really knows, you know, the answers. But this video just came out 9 hours ago, so it's 2 hours and 30 minutes, and we're an hour in, so not even halfway through, but we're getting through it. And this is not even the middle. We're talking about electrons and not even protons, but neutrons and wavelengths to build elements, because the periodic table scientists got shot in the head by a sniper in reality while while discovering reality. He got shot in the head, bruh. So today the notion that What do you say?
But in its time, de Broglie's ideas shook the foundation of physics to its core. And
Was
in
de Broglie the scientist that got
1929,
shot?
de Broglie
Here it
found
was.
himself in Sweden, receiving his own Nobel Prize. And so by the 1930s, it seemed that reality was all
aesthetic,
sewn
man.
up. The periodic table was built of just 3 particles: protons, neutrons, and electrons, bound
Was the
together in
boy.
different ways by the mathematical rules of electromagnetism and quantum mechanics. But even this neat picture rapidly started to unravel. In 1929, English
Yeah, it is
physicist Paul
fucking
Dirac
crazy,
had been
Bliss.
focused on the equations of quantum mechanics.
Laugh,
His goal was to
laugh.
make quantum consistent with the other great
Laugh,
physics theory,
laugh,
Einstein's
laugh,
relativity.
laugh.
His new equations worked, but immediately Dirac was puzzled by what they told him.
Hieroglyphics.
For as well as describing the behavior of electrons,
Goddamn
something
pitchforks.
else was in the mathematics.
With a
The equations
corn.
also described a positively charged electron to him.
That look like big. If you didn't know English at all, you just discovered this, and you like big man, corn, pitchfork, road, McDonald's. No, they look like hills, 3 hills, 2.5 hills, and then another pitchfork.
Describing the behavior of electrons, something else was in the mathematics. The equations also described a positively charged electron, a positron, a particle that seemed to have no place in the orderly
Proton.
atomic world.
Protron.
Perhaps people thought it was nothing more than a mathematical oddity that has no place in reality.
Fucking Protron.
By 1932, it was
called it a
unmistakably
positron?
found in particle experiments. But soon after the discovery of the positron, a
You
much
called it a
stranger
motherfucking positron? Hold on. Am I tripping? Hold on. You know I like to do my research. I don't like just to sit on things. You know, pause. A positron? Look, that's that same picture too. Look, they got Spanish. What is this? Hold up. What is a subatomic particle with the same mass as an electron and is numerically equal but positive charge? A protron, right? Am I tripping or is this Mandela effect? Protron. It says proton. I said protron. Yo, am I tripping? Positron sounds like a transformer. Positron, transform. It does, yo. Positron. You're back again, huh? What the fuck happened to Protron, though? Am I tripping? I was in school. It was a neutron, electron, and a protron. Why protron? Not proton. What? Protron. Yeah, see, look, protron. What the fuck? What the fuck? I typed protron in. Proton? Oh, it's a proton. I thought it was protron. Can I hear you say that real quick? Hold on. One second. Hey, yo, chill. What the fuck? All my life. I pray for someone like you. And I thank God that I finally found you. In all my life, I pray for someone like proton. Well, proton. It's always been proton. Okay. Let me see. Can I see that on the picture? Damn, you know I failed that test. Damn. I thought it was Protron, bro. I probably was out here telling all the bitches, I mean the women, Protron, trying to sound smart. They were like, look at this dumb ass nigga. Don't know what the hell you talking about, Protron. You talking about projector? They probably thought I was talking about projector, bro. Protons. Don't protons sound better though? Protons. Look, protons. Come on. The Mandela effect. It's been going around, bro. Everybody's been getting it, bro. But I knew something. I knew I was talking about protons. And he called them. What do you call them? Positrons. Yeah, he called them positrons. So it's the same thing basically, because proton means the proton is a subatomic particle. Basically the same thing we just fucking read. Let me calm down. Look at them feet. They is nasty. Get them off my screen. Ew. Yucky. Come on, it's always that one nigga. And the positron. See, no porn in my shit. God damn. Here you go. The same thing. The positron is an antiparticle of an electron. It's the properties of the electron except the polarity of the electric charge, which is positive. Therefore, a positron can simply be considered an electron having a positive. Is it different? No, subatronic particle with a positive electronic charge. Yeah, come on, now. I can't talk. That's just what it is.
Particle appeared in the collisions, one that had even less of a place in the atomic world than the positron.
Look at all them
it
atoms.
Looked like an electron.
Look at all them atoms.
Charge, except for one key difference. This new particle appeared to be 200 times as massive as the electron. And unlike the electron, this new particle, the muon, decayed in 2/millionths of a second.
Faster
so the big question was, why does the muon exist when it seems that it's not needed to build reality? Indeed, particle physicist Isidore Rabi quipped, who ordered that, as the muon made a mess of atomic deep. But its discovery was the start of a cascade, with many strange and differing particles popping out of experiments.
Wow.
And so into the 1960s, chaos reigned in the world of the subatomic, until the next level of reality was laid bare in what became known as the Standard Model.
It get crazy. Why is that there when we don't need it?
It was realized that protons and neutrons and most other particles are not truly fundamental, but are made of even smaller pieces, known as quarks.
Mm-hmm.
We now know that there are 6 kinds of quarks.
What? Yo, bro, this shit is pissing me off all over again. We just talked about positrons for a second, with neutrons for 40 minutes, with protons and atoms, and we got the quarks. I was talking about quarks the whole time. What is it, positions? What are you saying? Positrons, okay. Protons roll out. I think I've been saying protons the whole time, actually. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. Protons. But positrons, yeah, both of them. But quarks? There's 6 quarks.
Swedish researchers have released the first clear video ever taken of an electron riding on a light wave. Scientists used a device called a quantum stroboscope to freeze the electron's motion at different stages, just as you would freeze a hummingbird's wings in flight using a regular stroboscope. The resulting video has been slowed down and looped to show the motion clearly. For MSNBC.com, I'm clear video ever taken of an electron riding on a light wave. Scientists used a device called a quantum stroboscope to freeze the electron's motion at different stages, just as you would freeze a hummingbird's wings in flight using a regular stroboscope.
Quarks are the ultimate building blocks of visible matter in the universe. If we could zoom in on an atom in your body, you would see that it consists of electrons swarming in orbits around a nucleus of protons and neutrons. And if we could zoom in on one of those protons or neutrons, we'd find that they themselves are made up of a trio of particles that are so small that they have almost no size at all and are little more than points. These point-like particles are the quarks. Quarks are elementary particles. Like electrons, they are not made up of any other particles. You could say that they are on the ground.
See, look, he about to explain all this shit to us. I was just trying to see if you can see one. The clearest image of the atom. They're trying to just bait me. This is it. The clearest image of an atom. Wow. That's it? Oh, it just pops into existence. What? What the fuck? Sorry. Some of the some of them interacted with the atoms and changed their directions. Who are some of them? The electrons. I probably should turn the sound up. Nah, they tripping. It changed the direction. So these are atoms, or electrons, moving about around the atoms, which are right here, and are interacting and changing the directions of the atom. Yo, I feel like a type of scientist right now. I ain't gonna lie to you. I feel good. I feel like I'm doing the research. So I had a question. I did the research and found the answer out, or finding out the answer is intriguing. But this is look at the existence right here. I was asking for reality. This is it. The building blocks of everything. The weird side of life when you think about it. This thing is so symmetrical. Look at this thing. It's just an array of all these atoms. And I will always ask the question, of course, what's deeper in the atoms that cause life? But what about all the space in between? Like, look at all this big-ass gap in between. But then, all of a sudden, this happens. An atom just pops into existence. So that's what happens. You ask what the building block is. Hold on. You ask what the building blocks is, and it just pops into existence. What is this? This is what an atom looks like. And it just vibrates and spins 100 million times zoomed in. 100 million times zoomed in. Yeah. People out here doing that while you out here shitting. While we're out here, you know, just going about our day, there's somebody in here inventing telescopes or microscopes that can view an atom. So let's get back to business, because it's talking about 6 quarks.
Families. The lowest mass quarks are known as up and down, then charm and strange. Most massive of all are top and bottom, and the vast array of particles spat out in experiments are combinations of these quarks. Protons and neutrons are built from up and down quarks. Protons are 2 ups and a down, while neutrons are 2 downs and an up. 3 up quarks combine to form a delta plus plus particle, whereas the D plus is a charm quark combined with an anti-down quark. As well as the quarks, there are also the leptons, the electron and the muon, and the even more massive tauon. Plus ghostly companions known as neutrinos, 1 for each kind of electron. So, the majority of reality we experience is a combination of electrons and up and down quarks. There are a few other pieces to the standard model, and we'll meet those soon. But it's important to note that these fundamental pieces appear to have no size at all. These truly fundamental pieces of reality are point-like. So in a way, each of your protons and neutrons is effectively empty. At the subatomic scale, your atoms are even emptier than Rutherford found. Your brow furrows as you think again about the apple. Knowing that it is mostly empty space was disturbing enough, but at least the electron and the atomic nucleus seemed solid. In the quantum world, this is simply not the case. Everything we thought was a particle is not. Quantum matter shows wave-like properties, spread out over space and not in any precise location or with precise properties. Your apple is nothing more than a mix of these bizarre waves, all combining to be the fruit you see. You squint at the apple as the question of quantum waves washes over your mind. Just what are these waves? And just what is doing the waving? Is this what reality is? Just a sea of subatomic waves?
Imagine. A fucking imagine, man.
Imagine that you were in your kitchen, mixing ingredients to bake a cake. As you read through the recipe, you see that you need a couple of eggs, and so you head for the fridge. In the fridge door, the eggs are neatly arranged in lines, with some holes filled and some holes empty. You close the door and get back to your baking, thinking little of the remaining eggs. In your mind, there are certainties. When you open the fridge again, the eggs will still be there, occupying the same holes as before. How could it be?
You know what would be for certain, though? You know what would be awesome? You know what I could do? Just hear me out. Just listen, because I'm trying to just, like, you know, intertwine with my space-time continuum, all right? If I can bag her in reality, that would be like some fucking twist, plot, fucking life-changing, like, fourth dimensional, what is it? Not indigenous, fucking... What is that movie? I can't think of shit tonight, man. Forgive me. It's because I'm smoking heavy, though. But it's that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. Not Insidious. But, That would be like some crazy shit if I can bag her, bring her on stream and be like, yo, you're watching this. Now you're my wife. Crazy, right? Crazy life. She lives in Austin too.
And get back to your baking, thinking little of the remaining eggs. In your mind, there are certainties. When you open the fridge again, the eggs will still be there, occupying the same holes as before. How could it be any other way? But our modern understanding of reality suggests that the universe is actually much stranger. Instead of eggs, let's think of a collection of electrons similarly arranged in holes. With the arrival of quantum mechanics in the early 20th century, it was realized that electrons cannot be described by the rigid rules of the physics of Newton. Instead of exact positions and velocities, electrons were described by probabilities. We can only talk about the chance of finding an electron here or there, and if we observe an electron in a particular hole, it will have a probability of being in the other holes. So next time you check on the electron, it might have tunneled into a new hole, and all of the electrons might have switched places. And so why don't the eggs in your fridge similarly hop between the holes in your fridge door? They too are governed by the rules of quantum mechanics and so by probabilities. Well, in a sense, they do. For although the chance of an entire egg quantumly jumping between holes is extremely tiny, it is not zero. Though very unlikely, within the laws of physics, everything is possible in the quantum world. It is just a case of probability. The quantum revolution dominated the physics of the early 20th century. Great minds from around the globe turned their attention to the strange realm of the subatomic. But not everyone was pleased with what this revolution had to say, including perhaps the greatest scientist of them all, Albert Einstein. The problem started in 1926 in a paper by the physicist Max Born. A year earlier, Erwin Schrödinger published his eponymous equation. This allowed physicists to calculate the properties of de Broglie's matter waves. But Schrödinger still didn't know just what these waves were. Born, however, said that everything makes sense if you interpret the waves as waves of probability. The amplitude of this wave function tells you the chances of an electron being here or there, and as time ticks by, this wave function can wash back and forth as the probabilities for an electron being in a particular location change. This answered one of the questions that had been nagging physicists when considering quantum waves, because when they experimented on electrons, they would see precise dings in their equipment. They would detect individual electrons as distinct particles. So how could they also exist as quantum waves? To Born, the particles, like electrons, behave like waves as they travel from one place to another, but when they interact with your detector, the wave collapses and the electron is at a precise spot. Experimental evidence was quickly sought to see if this picture was correct, and it didn't take long to arrive.
I just went to a little dark space there for a second, cause like, what good can come from this? Like, I know life itself is joyful. I'm looking at a beautiful picture right now, you know, of a beautiful valley with trees and hills. But it's like, is this the only place like this? It has to be nowhere else like this. Because there's nowhere else like this in this reality that we know of, I guess. That's the truth. Nah, I hold you that. That's the truth. That's the truth. But it's just like not even possible. Like to get somewhere. That's another reality that I guess a lot of people don't understand, that even if there is a livable space out there. It's hundreds of light years away, hundreds of thousands of millions of light years away. And just how we talked about the nebula earlier, as we see it today, it's a billion years ago from what it looks like. And there's no way we can see what the nebula looks like exactly at this moment, because the concept of time is not the same, because light year is the highest measure of time. And the only way we can see, like, even if we go towards the nebula, even though it takes billions of years to get there, for whatever reason, if we travel there for that long, from generations, and able to get to the nebula, it's still not going to be exactly what we saw. It's going to be fucking stars there by the time we get there. Like, all over the place, more stars, heavy stars. So, for them to measure electrons to the point where they can take a picture of it and predict when they'll see it and where it will land. What does that mean? Like, if they able to literally take a picture of an electron, but not even that, predict where it lands or when they're going to be able to take the picture, what does that mean? Does that really mean, like, you know, what I used to say was that everything was inevitable. Like, life as we know it is destiny. There's no way to change who you are and what you will do because of what you got. If you were able to somehow even choose who you wanted to be before you got here and what you would do, that still is fractal. Like, who is that choosing who you are? Who is that person? That person still is still going to choose who they are because of what they want, because of who they are. And they can't change who they are because, you know, and even if they decide that, you know, what is it, not ignorantly, but just like try to choose something they wouldn't normally do in order to just make it different. No, that's what you would do because you know, are you. Some people wouldn't do that. Some people would still go with the flow and do, you know, all right, fuck it, this is who I am. But some people are ignorant or stubborn. That's what it is. And want to try to change, you know, but that's who you are. So it's like the definition of destiny is kind of like hard to jump over. Like, inevitability is there because you're destined to do what you're going to do. Like, there's people out here that do stuff that we can't even fathom. There's people out here that be eating people. I always go to the worst shit though, but like, there's actually kind people that go above and beyond and will sacrifice themselves for strangers, or just sacrifice their time for people, you know, and their effort and energy, understanding, you know, what little time we have. And it's kind of crazy that it's 7 billion people and 7 billion personalities type. I want to say personality type. I mean personality type, because there's similarities where you see somebody, or there's like groups of people that you can kind of like categorize because of how they act, because of personality traits, but it's still like fractal. And everybody still, you know, can be amazed by something because of something they haven't experienced. You know, there's some people that won't experience some things that people experience every day in their life. And it really all is a trajectory of, you know, who you become, but it's also who you are, because some people will never move from the place. Like, if you're experiencing horrible things, like me, I decided that I didn't experience horrible things, but I was bored of cold pepper, and I was like, I need bigger and better things. So I moved down to Texas, and I made the effort to move because I wanted better opportunities. Some people will never do that. Some people will stay where they are and just live with it and maybe learn to love it. You know, some people will actually genuinely love where you hate, and it's all about experiencing who you are. But it's not even exactly, you know, dependent on the category, but it does. And there's so many equations involved in all this discussion. We're talking about electrons. Out of all this discussion we're talking about electrons. Like all this categorization, all this capability and opportunity to be able to think and move and regulate and manipulate your own life. But this is all coming from existence. And that's why this really intrigues me, because this is not, it's way more than we think, way more than we can believe, just in our reality. But something really drastic happened to me, and that made me want to see who we be, because this shit is not what it seems at all. But we're talking about fucking electrons. Not a common Electra. She's made of electrons. Electra. Do you understand? People don't even fucking care. But one day, maybe you have to face this. One thing that kind of creeps me out is that I think that, because religion, of course, you know, it's kind of like science and religion is like cannot mix. And obviously, but I mean, all this comes from science. But it's like, I think that maybe if we die, I don't understand, nothing, but I feel like maybe it will be a part of everything. Like once we die, everything would just be there. Like, you you just be everything. But let me stop stalling, because we 3.5 hours in on
The
one
experimental
video.
setup
This one
was
is
similar to Young's famous double slit experiment, where
a
light
banger.
was shone through two slits and showed the unmistakable patterns of interference. This demonstrated that light travelled as a wave, as you
Quantum
need waves to
physics.
construct interference. And if quantum
Wait.
matter...
Let me bust some balls real quick before I go, because before they go, because I want you to know I know a little bit, just so y'all know. I ain't just here for the first time, because I can be reliable for at least a little bit of information. But quantum physics is like the deepest of science that we could talk about, where it really breaks down the understanding and fabric of space and time and reality. Where this example right here is showing a true separation from the idea of life being here without us. Like, do you understand? This is what haunts me at night, where I'm like, oh shit, I use the bathroom and I wake up, boom. What is that? A whole dream where I was in a neighborhood, thugging it out, trapping and rapping, you know what I'm saying, getting robbed, and like, I always go to the same place, like always the same place, and it's familiar. Like, I go back ever since I was a kid, like to these houses, and all type of like familiarity in my dreams. Like, that's like a layer of Inception. That's the movie I was looking for. But like, true questions come from that, because we live in a life that we have questions for right now. But what is that? We're talking about electrons here for the physical, in order the building blocks of our reality. You know what I'm saying? Our element and periodic table. But if you want to dig deeper, another layer of dreams, which come in fruition, and we're able to kind of remember. At least I do. Some people don't. I mean, I dream like every night. Like, I know I'm a dream tonight, and I think it gets better. But back to quantum physics, though, and this example with the slits, with they light a beam through slits, and it ends up crossing over I think the electrons are just the atoms or whatever like that. I'm not sure if it's the whole atoms or the electrons. We've been talking about electrons a lot, but they go crossing once they cross through the slits, and there was something about them sticking to the wall when you're looking at them, you know what I'm saying? they're crossing, they're sticking to the wall, and when you're looking at them. But when you're not looking at them, nothing's there, or it's like very little reaction, where where it raises the question that is it really there if you're looking at it? If you're not looking at it, I mean. If a tree falling, you know, in the woods, can anybody hear it? If nobody's there to hear a tree fall, can anybody hear it? There it goes. But it's a science. It's like proof.
Behaved like waves, it should show interference.
Like,
too.
am I talking to y'all or
The
not?
idea was to fire a beam of
For real.
electrons onto a target
Leave it
of
in the
nickel
comments.
with a
Leave it in
regular
the
pattern
comments.
of atoms. If the electrons were little bullets, we would expect them to randomly ricochet off the target atoms. However, the experimenters found that there were certain directions in which electrons preferred to recoil and other recoil paths they seemed to avoid. And this was the unmistakable pattern of interference. Places where waves added and strengthened, and others where the waves cancelled each other out. To help understand this, imagine you are a sharpshooter at the Olympics.
Oh.
Through your sights, you zero in on your target 100 meters away. You line up your crosshairs, take a deep breath and hold it. But as you think about your glory yet to come, your mind starts wandering. What if you were a sharpshooter in the quantum world? In the quantum world, the certainty of everyday physics melts away. Instead of exact locations and velocity, your bullet is now governed by the rules of quantum probability, and when you squeeze the trigger, the bullet emerges from the barrel as a quantum wave, spreading out in all directions like the ripples
that
of
shit
water
is
on a pond.
Ass.
This quantum wave travels quite differently to the zipping path of the bullet. Quantum waves can diffract around corners and can interfere with other quantum waves. Indeed, a spray of quantum bullets would not result in a grouping of holes in the target. Instead, a pattern of interference would emerge, with some bullets here and none there.
Oh, why?
This strange mix of wave-like and particle-like properties in the quantum world is known as a duality, and quite why we don't experience this in everyday life remains a mystery. Although physicists have been able to see the effect of quantum waves even on the scale of large molecules, many tens of atoms traveling together as a quantum wave and showing interference. And so, experiments showed, precisely as Born had suggested, that the waves of the electrons were combining and cancelling. But bizarrely, their detectors were counting just individual electrons arriving. Quantum objects were definitively travelling as waves, but interacting with detectors as particles. Indeed, as further proof, today we use this fact in our most powerful of microscopes. Instead of a beam of light, these focus a beam of electrons onto a target and use the wave properties of the beam to reveal details
Oh my
beyond.
god, what the fuck is this? We gotta watch some microscope footage one day. I gotta put that in the pocket because this is
Electrons
mad
onto a target
intriguing.
and use the wave
But
properties
seriously,
of the beam.
look at this. If I was on drugs, on like shrooms, I would be. I don't know what I would be. I would probably be all up in this picture. I'll probably be able to look at the bottom and at the top and like. I'll be all up in this bitch, like looking at every little quarter. Cause what is this? So are these electrons or atoms? Like, this is so disgusting. It looks like Silent Hill, a bunch of mutated brains. But this is probably like in my knuckle, like for sure in my knuckles. Look at this, like y'all don't understand.
To reveal details beyond.
And then you got this. It's just wow. Like, what am I looking at right now? Look at this. It don't even look like anything I've ever seen before. Like I've never seen anything like this before, but it's life.
That visible to light.
And there's another one. It's like an oil field. With a bunch of water pockets. Got some crumbs on top.
Born received his Nobel Prize in 1954, 1 year before Einstein's death. But in the decades in between, Einstein had become a vocal critic of this probabilistic picture of nature, convinced as he was that it could not be the way that the universe actually worked. Whilst Einstein and Born were friends, they never saw eye to eye on reality. Einstein was horrified by probability sitting at the heart of our world. He felt that the universe must be deterministic at its heart. Though he accepted that quantum mechanics could be probabilistic, he believed that there was something deeper, something hidden beneath the quantum world that clung to determinism. Indeed, in a now iconic letter to Born, Einstein outlined his sentiment. I, at any rate, am convinced that God is not playing at dice. By 1935, Einstein had fled his native Germany and arrived in the USA. And it was there he wrote about a paradox at the heart of quantum mechanics. A paradox he was convinced would demonstrate the absurdity of some of its big ideas. And this paradox, almost a century old, is still key to our modern understanding of the quantum world. It is known as the EPR paradox, after its authors Einstein, Podolsky and Rosen, and it highlighted one of Einstein's biggest problems with quantum mechanics, the apparently instantaneous collapse of the probability waves through observation into particles. And to understand its impact, let's start with thinking about two quantum particles. One of the interesting things about the wave function is that when we have two particles, the wave function for both is not simply the sum of the wave functions of the individual wave functions. No, a new wave function can be written that encapsulates the properties of the two particles. And it's this combined wave function that gave Einstein a headache. Imagine the two particles are brought into existence through some event. The details of the event are unimportant, but it results in the particles having linked quantum values. For example, imagine the particles are born with quantum spin, one spinning up, one spinning down. This way, the total spin is equal to 0, so spin has been conserved in their creation. Except the wave function does not contain definite information, just probabilities. So, each particle has a 50% chance of spinning upwards and a 50% chance of downwards. However, an important rule of the universe is that the total spin is conserved, so if you detect one spinning upwards, the other absolutely must be spinning downwards. In Einstein's thought experiment, you can imagine the particles separating after their creation and moving an immense distance apart, maybe several light years. They are traveling as probability waves, and you don't know the orientation of either particle's spin. Everything is still a mix of probability. This is quantum entanglement. But imagine one of the particles runs into a spin detector. With a loud beep, it registers the spin and the display reads spin upwards. You now know that the spin of the other particle is definitely spin downwards. The wave function must have collapsed into the definite states of the particles. But herein lies the problem. Just how does this pair of widely separated particles know that one has had its spin determined? Does the wave function, which is strung between the two particles, collapse instantaneously, possibly across light years? If it did, Einstein said, then this collapse would occur faster than the speed of light. And that, of course, was forbidden. Nothing in the universe can travel faster than the speed of light.
Yo, go back to the stream where I was telling you this answer. I know a lot more than a little bit, so check me. What did I say? It's quantum entanglement. I didn't have the name. I was talking about the two atoms or whatever, electrons or whatever. What was it? What was it, Herschel? Particles? Is this particles? Well, they have a quantum entanglement, and that is faster than the speed of light. That'd be the only thing faster than instantaneous reaction is because one's definite up and one's definite down, or vice versa, come to find out. But yeah.
Was forbidden. Nothing in the universe can travel faster than the speed of light, under any circumstances. The solution, he claimed, is that quantum mechanics simply could not be complete, that underlying its apparently probabilistic facade lurked something else, something definite and certain that we simply hadn't found yet. These hidden variables would be solid and deterministic values precisely describing a situation, and it would be these hidden values that described the true nature of reality. The hunt for these hidden variables was on. Einstein and de Broglie put new ideas on the table, then eventually threw them in the bin. Others sought a solution to the EPR paradox, which brought determinism back to the heart of reality, but by the 1960s, all attempts were dashed by the insights of an Irish physicist in Switzerland. John Stuart Bell was born in Belfast in 1928. From a young age, he decided that he wanted to be a scientist, and in 1960 he found himself as a theoretical physicist working on the Swiss-French border at the recently formed European Organization for Nuclear Research, or CERN for short. Bell contributed many things to physics and the understanding of reality, but he is probably best remembered for what is known as the Bell inequalities. His thought experiment was similar to that laid out in the EPR paradox, but with a subtle and insightful twist. Just like in the EPR paradox, we first make a pair of particles that are entangled in their wave function. Then we allow them to separate to a large distance where each encounters a detector. The detector can register spin up or spin down, but each can be oriented differently. But let's start by imagining the two detectors are perfectly aligned. As we've seen before, if one detector registers an up, the other must register a down. If the readings on one detector are up, down, 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 the other must read down, up, up. The readings are perfectly correlated. Bell's twist was to consider what would happen if the two detectors were not aligned. What if one was set to register up, down, and the other was twisted to measure left, right? This might sound like a strange thing to do, because if a particle is spinning either up or down, how could it register any spin, left or right? But if you were thinking like this, you are still considering the particles as classical things, as if they are truly solid balls that contain a definite direction of spin. But remember, they are not. They are purely quantum particles, and their spins are probabilistic. So there will be some probability of spin up, down, and some probability of spin left, right. Though thinking like this can start to bring on a headache, it is the way the microscopic world works. Bell started to wonder about the correlations of the outputs, with one detector reading up, down, up, and the other right, left, right. He was able to conclude that if these choices are being made by hidden variables, by definite quantities tied to each of the particles, a particular pattern of correlations should be seen. And if there are no hidden variables,
about to blow up the
so
Earth.
Einstein was wrong, a different pattern should emerge. And so the rush to test Bell's experiment was underway.
Like, how
And
did
it
they not
wasn't
know
long
though?
until
How
the
did they
first
not know they were like
results.
a possibility they could cause another atom kind of bomb situation, but then on a molecular level in a catastrophic way? Like, what if they? I mean, everybody thinks they're creating a black hole, but they're trying to create a portal that's going to expand. But no, the scariest shit. You wanna know one of the scariest shits is? I heard it was on Instagram. I don't be on TikTok, but on Instagram, where they were saying some of the scariest world-ending things that nobody think about that could possibly happen, that they heard about that were fucked up, and they were saying that at CERN they could be smashing atoms together and create a black hole, and nobody would know about it, of course, because as it was happening, I think people would know about it, because then the Earth would start, stretching and shit. Things would start blowing up, because especially the Earth, but maybe not. But I don't even think it was a black hole. Actually, it was like a click of nothingness. Like, what if they just crashed reality and ripped apart our existence and are turned on a nothing switch? where everything just clicked out or started to just like if there was like a line or where it was at, everything just started just disappearing behind this line, and nobody had the chance to warn anybody because everything, whatever.
Were on the table. Calcium atoms were excited in a hot oven, emitting two correlated photons as they cooled. These photons zipped out of the oven and into the physicists' detectors, who then compared the polarizations of the photons, the vibrational direction of the electric field. Bell said that if there were hidden variables defining the photons, specific correlations would be measured. But if there were not, and the photon's properties were spread over the quantum wave function, then a distinctly different set of correlations would be measured. The results were conclusive. There could be no variables. Reality was not a property of things, but was non-local, extended over the quantum waves. And as the many experiments undertaken ever since further confirmed this conclusion, Einstein's notion that the underlying universe was deterministic was quietly put to bed. And so, at this point, you might be wondering what all this means. This seems like a minor academic argument about some exotic quantum stuff in weird experiments. But the ramifications for reality are huge. Locality has always been a key concept in physics. What it means is that something responds purely to its local environment. Proximity is important. A mass responds directly to a force acting upon it, but it doesn't know or care about a force acting on another mass far away. Indeed, it is the non-local nature of quantum mechanics that Einstein objected to, that a particle detection in one part of the universe can influence the properties of another elsewhere. In a letter to Max Born in 1947, Einstein referred to this as spukhafte Fernwirkungen, spooky action at a distance. And this was a step too far for Einstein's view of the universe. For what this means when extrapolated is baffling. An electron is not simply an electron, and neither is any other fundamental particle in the universe. Particles must be entangled with others, sharing their experiences across the cosmos. No individual thing is simply a thing. Everything universe-wide is truly connected.
Do you hear that, racist? I'm in you when I'm ain't even in you. Just understand that you breathe in the same air. We are all connected. Think bigger than you, than us, than it. Whatever it is us. Connected, all together, forever. I didn't mean to just go crazy on you with that laugh, but it's the truth. I felt that. That felt like deep in my bellow. Because I believe that. That's just the truth. We're spinning and spinning and spinning around the sun, just trying to have fun. And it's an option, though. Unfortunately, it's definitely a spectrum. So it get deep, but it's still like, you know, a blessing. I would say for me, but life can be hell on earth for somebody. It is. For people, a lot of people actually. Like some people think they have it worse, but it just goes under the mud. But everything universe-wide is truly connected. You see it right here. Like, this is a beautiful sight to see. I mean, like, look at all this beautiful stuff over here. This is like this is the picture. And it looks like I don't even know what to call this. I mean, the universe, of course, but what can you even compare it to? Like the ocean? I mean, it's just for the flat earthers out there. I mean, if you look at the ocean at night or something like that, and there's a bunch of just like lit up fish in the deep sea, that's what it probably looked like. Because look at all the ripples in there and stuff like that. That's where it gets, like, questionable. Because you see over here, too. Well, y'all can't see because I'm in the way. But, like, down here on the truly connected, these highlighted ripples of gas. And then up here too.
At this point, you might be sharing Einstein's feeling that this is a step too far, that there's no way your apple is entangled with other particles in the cosmos. But we have to remember that the universe simply does not care about your feelings, your intuition, or what you can
That's the
process
scary
in
part.
your brain. It refuses to behave in a way that you think is sensible. And the award of the 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics demonstrates this cosmic absurdity. The laureates were Alan Aspect, John Clauser, and Anton Zellinger, and the subject was
Inevitability.
entangled photons. Experimenting over decades, these physicists showed that widely separate particles behave as one, and their goal was to dismiss any prospect of there being any hidden variables defining reality. A recent example of these experiments, the cosmic Bell test, might be the most extreme. The worry was that experiments to reveal Bell's correlations might not be quite telling us the truth. Experiments are built of atoms, and what if all these particles had interacted through their long histories? And worse than that, the experimenters themselves were made of similarly entangled particles too. When physicists set up their experiments, they like to think that they are distinctly separate from them. They think that they are objective observers, just looking at the outcomes of the laws of physics. The equipment in their lab is, in their minds, effectively...
You know, he breaking it down right now. Y'all don't understand the inception that's going on right now. Do you? Do you? Do you? Do you? Do you? Because he's saying scientists are observing themselves. We are observing ourselves. We are atoms observing atoms. At the highest degree, being scientists. And even take it deeper a little bit. Yeah, even take it a little deeper than that. The machines that they're using to observe themselves are themselves. Like, do y'all understand how weird it is to exist? Do you? Do you? Like, don't care about your life in a negative way because you can choose. It may be harder for you because of how your atoms are set up, but it truly is a choice. It's just going to be drastic for you. I mean, eventually be drastic for everybody. Nothing is sweet because everybody has their own idea of life, an idea of tragedy. And it's true tragedy for everybody. It's all spectrum for everything. But my boy is saying there are atoms using atoms to look at atoms.
isolated from the rest of the universe, and what they see is just the outcome of the physics in front of them. However, this is not quite the case, for the experimental apparatus is made of atoms. Atoms that have a history much older than the experiment itself. The physicists are also made of atoms, atoms with a history much older than them. Atoms that have been around for billions and billions of years. And so over these billions of years, there have been countless opportunities for these atoms to tangle. And in these interactions, any hidden variables could have been rewritten and correlated. This would mean that the correlations the physicists measure could simply be a result of the atom's long history, rather than the physics being non-local. This had the potential to introduce quantum loopholes into the experiment, and physicists wondered if hidden variables were colluding to make it look like they didn't exist. They needed to set the settings of their experiment in a way that could not be influenced by earthly ways. And so, they looked to the skies.
Look at all them atoms on his face, coming down on his face.
They set up their experiment as usual, and then they brought in the light of two distant stars. The starlight fluctuated slightly, and these fluctuations became part of the experiment. These flutterings were used to set the orientations at which the spins were measured. And again, the experiment revealed that reality must be non-local. Remarkably, these experiments were even repeated using cosmological quasars rather than stars, pushing the possibility of a hidden variable loophole occurring back almost 8 billion years to the time of these extremely bright galaxies. Again, the spins of the particles were explored at orientations set by the fluctuating light of the quasars. And again, the results were unequivocal. Reality must be non-local. It is not simply there.
What does that mean? Unequivocal.
Again, you look over and spy your
Unequal.
apple. And again, you begin to wonder. Your mind can handle the fact that your apple is, at heart, a collection of fundamental particles, and it feels sensible that they are there, part of the fruit you can see. But the
That makes me think too, once again, if subatonical, what did you say? Come on, bro, you just gave it to me.
these particles are entangled with each part of the fruit you can see. But these particles are entangled at heart. Your mind can handle the fact that your apple is, at heart, a collection of fundamental particles, and it feels sensible that they are
Oh,
there.
you just said fundamental. I thought you said subatomic. But it makes me start to think, because once scientists found that out, that atoms are using atoms to experiment on atoms, that's truly what everything is. It's just particles. Then people manipulating stuff, is that true? Do you think that that's like the truth, that people actually are able to go through things and magicians can actually like manipulate and make stuff disappear, and Africans can use voodooism to bring back ancestors to fill in all these dancing and twirling things? Like, is it really that? Because, I mean, you got to think ancient. That's what I really think. It's the time that has passed and will pass, and we're only in that piece of this distant time of existence. And it kind of makes me think before is the proof before we got here. So then I guess that does answer my question. If we're here, is there truly a universe? And I guess that's a yes, because all this took billions and billions of years to even make, which shows proof. It shows proof of time in space being here before we've been here, way before we've been here. So then it's like, what are we then? Are we important? We have to be important in order to comprehend. We're not like animals, which still have some comprehension. Like, there's some animals that, I mean, through adaptation or whatever, that can comprehend. Like monkeys, they can learn and stuff like that. It's just like, it's not just us out here. But through the thousands and thousands of species, we are the most important, they say, until, I guess, AI becomes a factor, or will become a factor, or is a factor. And we're saying we're building another species, because the idea of the species is something intelligent. And that's why assimilation comes into play, because we're able to build intelligence. And it's able to be broken down, just like we're able to discover what we're made of. And it had to have been a fishy day when the scientists discovered that they're literally atoms, particles, all made of the same thing, and using particles to research particles. That's deep, but it makes me wonder, can people literally understand that, manipulate it, and do the things that we can't believe, like float?
There, part of the fruit you can see. But these particles
Take
are
a bite
entangled
without
with each
taking a
other
bite.
and with others in the universe, and it seems that the apple is actually spookily entwined with the cosmos. And so now, the question is, why? Why exactly is this apple and this universe so connected?
Yo, why? Why are you connected?
What are the rules that run beneath everything.
Part
On the 18th of April, 1955, the old man
Yeah, one more
died.
hour.
He was
We're 4
born
hours
in
in.
Germany almost 8 decades earlier, but his last moments were in an American hospital. His final words were in his native tongue, but these are lost to posterity, as the nurse who was caring for him was unfamiliar with the German language. But in the hours before his death, the man had asked for 3 things: his glasses, his writing equipment, and his equations, to work on one final problem. This man, Albert Einstein, is considered one of the greatest physicists of all time, and his name is splashed across the pages of the textbooks of modern physics. But later in his life, his work had become focused on a single question, a question that still haunts physicists today. 2 central theories emerged from the revolution of the first decades of the 20th century. We've met them both in our stories so far. Einstein's relativity described the actions of gravity across the cosmos, while quantum mechanics explained the universe of the subatomic. Quantum mechanics was refined throughout the 20th century, evolving into what we now know as quantum field theory. It is these fields that contain the rippling waves of probability in quantum mechanics, and it is these fields that describe the physics of the fundamental pieces, like electrons and quarks. We've also already encountered the standard model of particle physics, and this is really
So
a
they move the
theory
same.
about the interaction of these quantum fields.
Scalar bosons?
When 2 charged
Scalar
particles, like
boson.
electrons, interact, they create vibrations in the electromagnetic field. And these vibrations, the carriers of the electromagnetic force, are the photons. And of course, the electrons themselves are also vibrations in the electron field, just as each type of quark that makes up neutrons and protons are vibrations in their own quark fields, and so on for other particles. There are also other fields for other fundamental forces. The strong force is responsible for holding the quarks in protons and neutrons together, and for binding these particles in the nuclei of atoms. Vibrations in the strong field are the gluons, carriers of the strong force.
Gluons,
There are also
that's what the
fields
other
associated
quarks
with the weak force, responsible for aspects of radioactivity, and their vibrations correspond to what are known as the W and Z bosons. For every force, there is a vibration in a field, and that vibration is a quantum particle. To understand this, let's take a look at the life of a neutron. Left on its own, a free neutron will decay in about 15 minutes, transforming into a proton and spitting out an electron and a ghostly neutrino. But just what is happening in terms of the quantum fields? We have to remember that a neutron is a
All made of
collection
the
of
same
3
stuff, too.
quarks, 2 down quarks and an up quark. These quarks are constantly generating vibrations in the strong field, with gluons flying about and binding the neutron. But the weak field is still there, and eventually one of the quarks will pluck a new vibration in it. This will cause one of the down quarks to transform into an up quark, turning the neutron into a proton. The ripple in the weak field represents a W- boson and flies away.
Alright, so this is my guess to see if I know a little something before if he says it. I don't know if that's the cause of the magnetic poles flipping, but they say that's what happens. But if that could be happening in the electric field, then that could be the cause of the poles flipping. Don't quote me though.
Away from the newly formed proton. But this particle lives for only a very short time, less than a billionth of a second. As its vibration vanishes, it produces vibrations in new fields, creating an electron and neutrino. And all quantum particle interactions can be described in exactly the same way.
All of them.
But one other quantum field is necessary to round off the picture. Perhaps the most famous quantum field of all, the Higgs field. Interactions with the Higgs field give mass to the fundamental particles. The vibrations represent the Higgs boson, discovered in 2012 after a 4-decade search. It was in the early 1960s that physicists realized that there was a problem. As we know, the weak force has two associated particles, bosons known as the W and Z. Quantum field theory requires force particles to be massless. For electromagnetism, the force particle is the photon, a massless particle, and for the strong force, the force particle is the gluon, again, a massless particle.
They keep saying that, bruh. Massless particle. That is inside of a quark. So that's the smallest observable thing, but it doesn't have a mass. But they have it. It's categorized. There's data on it.
And so why, physicists asked, did the W and Z of the weak force have mass? Simply adding mass to the W and Z in the equations proved a disaster, as quickly the mathematical terms exploded to infinities. So it was clear a new mechanism would be needed to add mass to the W and Z, and this mechanism was provided by the Higgs field, a field of energy that permeates all of space. The W and Z particles feel the presence of the Higgs field, coupling through a quantum interaction, whilst the photon and the gluon don't see the Higgs field at all. The problems of the masses of the W and Z bosons was solved, but it was realized that the Higgs mechanism had more up its sleeve. It was quickly seen that the mechanism that gave the weak force particles their mass could give mass to all the fundamental particles, to all the electrons and quarks, as these particles traveled through the seeming emptiness of space, the presence of the Higgs field ensuring they have just the right mass. Quantum field theory is highly successful, accurately predicting what is spat out of particle experiments. Electrons, quarks, sprays of gluons, and many other wonders can be found in its mathematics. Einstein's relativity is equally successful, predicting the motions of the objects in the heavens. But it is this superb accuracy of both these theories where Einstein's headaches began. While Einstein did not have the details of the fundamental forces available today, he did realize the problem in the language of the two theories. Relativity described gravity in terms of curved and warped spacetime. Quantum field theory, on the other hand, spoke about probability and waves. These two languages were completely at odds with each other, and you might wonder, so what? Does it really matter if we need two sets of mathematics? But to physicists like Einstein, this flew in the face of the dream of modern physics, the dream of unification. It all started with James Clerk Maxwell and his work on electromagnetism.
Alright, I might cut this one short. Because it's a whole nother hour and it's 4 hours already. I was trying to keep it at that. I think we could do a part 2 on that because it's a whole nother 40 or 54 minutes. So just appreciate the Mikey. I know that's probably you. I appreciate you turning your laptop on and going to sleep. And Bliss, I appreciate you hopping on too. But I'm gonna be hopping on tomorrow, so just plan on that. And we're gonna be finishing this up. It's gonna be hella quick because I'm gonna be refreshed and ready to go. So just tune in. Follow my Instagram, Hershey Pop Fly. That's where you're gonna find out when and why. But other than that, show some love in the chat. I'll see you when I get back, but I get back when I see you. Cool beans and collard greens, peas and chicken grease.